We are home back again. We are up. You cannot miss today's show. What are we doing here today? It's Saturday, I know. Some people will be like, what are you doing here on Saturdays? I told y'all we roll out our new show. What is it called? Your vote, your voice. I mean, your vote, your voice is everything. So we are up again. It's going to be the full analysis of everything about the elections. We are up again, Gambians. If you can hear us, please join us. This is it. This is it. Just like I will say in our local language, so salaso, minda abije so, minda atige so. Ali ajale last Saturday I had our brother here, Dabakh Malick. Thank you, brother, coming back. Your fans wanted you back. And I love to have you back.
I don't know. Thank you so much, man.
My is here, my co-host, our reporter from the ground, Gambia, Jaye Jallow. Brother, you are welcome once again. You are my partner in crime. Guess who did I put? Who is here today, our special guest? Oh boy, he couldn't run. It's my Karoninka brother. It's my Karoninka brother. Sarjo Barrow. Today he decided he's going to interpret this law in Karoninka. So buckle up. If you don't understand Karoninka, you better buckle up. So Sarjo, everybody's welcome. And I would like to see your text. Sanko, thank you for coming in. If you guys can hear me, we will be talking about serious issues. Gambia's electoral laws, dual citizenship, and the citizen. When you say a citizen, what did our constitution say about a citizen that should run for office, presidential? So that will be very important. Dual citizens, when you travel out the country, the first thing you think of, I'm sorry to say, you want to have that paper. You want to have that base. You want to have that thing that you can lean on, when you travel out the country. And even our parents back home pray for us to have those papers. So dual citizenship is very important. And we want to talk about it. What did our laws say about us qualifying to run for office in the Gambia? So we have our lawyer here, we have our concerned citizen here, and our journalists will be down here too. When it comes to the nomination, the people that are nominated, they are rejected during the nomination, what happened? Why were they rejected for tomorrow? All right, thank you, Al. And we welcome everybody. Good day, brothers.
Good day.
You are welcome once again on our show. Your vote, your voice. I will start with Sarjo first. Sarjo, you are welcome to Binto Media Network. There's this new show. You are not new on this platform, but today is a different one. Today we had this new show we roll out last week. Please, we want you to join us in again, and you are once welcome again. Please, you can have the floor.
Thank you, Binto. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure.
Okay. Dabakh, you can say hello to the viewers too.
Yeah, once again, thank you very much for having me again. And to everybody that is watching wherever you are, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And then we hope to have a great show again.
Yes. Brother Sarjo, before we go on, what are your views, your overall views? I know you are not on the ground, but Dabakh is on the ground in the Gambia, about this whole election, the nomination, the candidates. What is it? What do you have for us?
I think it's an important step. And then at first I was with the belief that 2016 election was the most consequential election Gambia ever had, in our lifetime. But I think 2021 proved to be the most consequential election for us as a country. Like, how do we move forward? That, it's an important franchise. Every Gambian seems to be happy about this process. There is a lot of enthusiasm with folks going out registering in numbers. I believe the registered voter rate is a little, sort of 1 million, voters. So that's encouraging. And then so far, that's what I hear with all the rhetorics and then, what have you not on Facebook. I hope that doesn't translate to what's on the ground, I believe that, and then I'm with the notion that, peace will prevail and then people will exercise their vote and then go home. Hopefully the best man win. Or yes, right now they are all, male candidate. And then regarding IEC, at least, working with the process of having folks registered. And then, of course, personally, I have a different opinion when it comes to registration voting and then the whole having a fixed period to register people. And then, I'm troubled with that. And then, but regardless, I would still say that, at least they have done a tremendous job.
Okay. All right. Dabakh, you are welcome. Okay.
Folks,
Sarjo, you there?
so nomination goes sleep without.
Sarjo, check your connection again. Try to log back in. I don't know what is going on. Please check your check your connection and log back in. Yeah, you will catch up with us. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, log back in. Good. Yes. Dabakh.
Yes.
Since last Saturday, you were here. Since last Saturday, what do you think from last Saturday? What is going on the ground? You are down there. What are your views too?
Now, my view is I think we have to congratulate the IEC and all the political players who participated in the nomination process, but also the Gambian citizens of the Gambia for not only exercising their constitutional right, but also doing it in a manner that is very peaceful and within the context of the law. So from that day to day, I think there are a few surprises, and some of those surprises I think is some of the candidates who couldn't make it through to the main process and doing the appeal with IEC and then IEC rejecting their appeal, and two I had planned to go to the Supreme Court to challenge that decision, and also seeing some of the candidates who wanted to run for the office of the president but didn't make it, some of them realigning themselves with other candidates who already made it. So I think we have much to talk about with regards to that as the program goes further. And now seeing that campaign has already started, parties are going in the hinterland of the country to sell their agenda. And I believe for now the process is peaceful. It's been done within the context of the law. And those who did not agree with the process also are following the due process of the law to seek redress, which I think is very much important if we are to build on the achievements that we gain with regards to trying to build up a democracy that is very inclusive and that is out there to give every citizen your right to be heard. So I think currently the way the process is going is very peaceful. I would just say, like my brother said, like Brother Sarjo said, I always tell people, there are two types of Gambia. The Gambia on social media and the Gambia on the ground, because usually when you see what happens in social media and you think that is what is translating on the ground, we are making a big mistake. Social media may be very tense, the rhetorics may be very harsh, very violent, but generally Gambians are peaceful. And I think this election also is going to depict that, because I think what we went through 2016 was more of a difficult period and we managed to pass it peacefully. And I believe this one also will pass it through peacefully.
Okay. Thank you. Jaye, you hold on right there. Let me ask them this question before you come in. Sarjo Barrow, there is some rumors going on. But they kind of confirmed it. This presidential candidates should debate a debate between presidential candidates. What is your view on that? Should they come and debate, or is it not good for the country, or what do you think about that?
No, I think it's important for presidents to debate, and then I hope they would all agree to debate. And then personally, I would in fact prefer they debate in our local language for people to hear. And then my hope is, and then if the presidential debate were to happen, and then actually make it issue focused. For instance, let the debate has, a theme. We are going to debate about economic policy, foreign policy, national security. Let it have a theme, and then have experts review all of these things. Because every candidate, I kid you not, I try to go through every political party, their manifestos. Sometimes you would ask yourself, why are we not one party state like China? It would seem from paper, we all agree on the same thing, like the nuances are different. And I was like, so if you all think alike, you all think this is the economic model, what's the problem? Like, why are you not all in the same party? Duke it out in a primary, and then whoever wins and then go forward. So that's where you would really test each party, whether they understood what they wrote, or whether they actually believe or they have a strong conviction in their policies they put on paper. So I think that's important for them to come and debate. And especially for those that have, seat of power, for instance, President Barrow and then Vice President Dabakh. These are all people who were in the government before, right? And then even lawyer Isefal, he works with the government before, and then he holds a very important position, TRRC. You could at least assess these people regarding their past work. That would be fair game in politics. What have they done in their respectful defense to know which of these candidates is actually ready for game day, and then interview them on their policies. Where do they stand? Where do they differ? I think that's the only way for us to get away from this tribal, ethnic, or regional or sectional voting in Gambia if we want to take it seriously and unify the country.
Okay. Do you think it should be part of the electoral laws in future?
I hope we don't have to come to that. I just want people to willingly volunteer. You are seeking the highest office of the country. The least you could do, at least, you owe people that. You shouldn't be that bumptious to think that, you shouldn't face your electorate. After all, you are asking for their vote. Yes. So I think it should just be a natural instinct. It's just like the tradition in the US. Every sitting president, with the exception of 2016, you know what I'm talking, like voluntarily relinquish their tax return to show folks that, hey, I'm a good member of the public. I pay my taxes. You can refuse to do it, but it speaks volume. We see what happened. That's how it should be. It's a democratic space. I hope we don't have to come to legislation for that.
Okay. Dabakh, what do you think about the debate issue? And we even saw what some Gambia said. Mama Kande, Honorable Mama Kande said if the president did not come, he will not appear too. I'm not sure about that, if it's true.
Yeah, I think debates are good, but I think I am with the belief that we are putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Yeah, because the reality is a lot of majority of Gambians don't vote based on policies and programs. And even the candidates that are going to campaign and will be attending that debate, majority of them would not campaign based on programs. They campaign mostly based on rhetorics and personal attacks towards their opponent. And that is how politics have been going on in Gambia since 1965. So I think what needs to be done is we need to re-educate ourselves about the importance of elections and the importance of choosing a leader. And the only way we can do that is to have a dialogue and have a genuine conversation to the kind of Gambia we want. Once we agree to the kind of Gambia we want, then we can build a new type of Gambian. A new type of Gambian that will ask relevant questions, that will look at issues that matters to them, such as education, agriculture, security, the economy, the health sector, the tourism industry. These are the things that are what matters to the population, because this is what our bread and butter should be about.
Okay.
But it's not a bad thing. I think it's also going to give people the opportunity to know how some of these leaders think and reason, because a lot of these political parties, I can tell you, you can do a random sampling. Most of their supporters even don't know what is their economic policy or what kind of philosophy they have as a party. What most Gambians would recognize is the party leader and the color. Period. So when they go out there to vote, they are not voting candidate X because they feel he or she has a better policy when it comes to healthcare or education or agriculture. But they vote in because I and him comes from the same region or the same tribe or the same religion. You understand? So I'm not going to vote for X because I am not from the same tribe with him or her, or she's a woman and I'm a man and a woman should not be. Because let's not forget that Gambia is a very conservative country. Our people are very much firm on their religious beliefs and cultures. So I think the debate is good, but I think we must spend more time with educating ourselves to know what and why every 5 years we need to choose a leader.
Okay.
Once that is understood and we have an agreement, then we educate the population. Then those people who are going to vote, they will be able to ask relevant questions to some of these candidates who want to run for the highest office on the land.
Thank you.
Until then, I think the debate is just more of like symbolic, but I don't think it will have any major impact in changing the decisions of majority of the voters who are going to vote come December 4th.
Okay. Thank you. Hopefully after that, we will analyze. We will go back and analyze this whole debate thing. Jaye, you can come in and start with the public scrutiny.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Binta. Good evening to you, the host, of course, Mr. Malick and Mr. Barrow, and of course to our wonderful viewers across the entire globe, of course, welcoming you to a very interesting and exciting show. The most important thing is to take you through to what has happened at the public scrutiny. It was a very, very interesting day, one could call it, because what a lot of us expected, the journalists, the aspect of journalists, of course, from the politicians and from genuine Gambians, is that when you go to the Independent Electoral Commission, you will be given or accorded the full time to go and verify. Remember, almost over 21 different documents were submitted by these aspiring candidates or presidential aspiring candidates. But to our dismay, of course, when we reach, we were told as journalists that even though you have your accreditation card, even though you have your press card, the one thing that can qualify you to confirm these documents is your voter's card, in which they have to extract your voter's card number, write it down, note it down, then you will be given 5 minutes to get in. And within that 5 minutes too, you are not allowed to go with a notebook, neither a pen. I am sure they put it very clear to us, because we had a training, the CSOs, the IEC, the journalists, of course, at NANA conference, that we were told these are, of course, sensitive documents, personal documents of very senior officials in the Gambia. So we need not to at least film anything. We need not to take any picture, any snap of anything. But what was more enticing is the time allocated to Gambians. We as journalists, we were never informed that we are supposed to go with our voters card, in which only a few, less than even 5 people, got at least that fulfilled the requirement. For my own self, I was not informed and I was part of the training. So that was one side of the story. And the other thing is 5 minutes. It was too small. Now look at the case, look at where we are. This is something that we expected to happen because you cannot qualify all the candidates. And at the same time, too, you cannot disqualify all of them. So in the event that one is qualified or one is disqualified, where can you base your facts in as a journalist? Where can you put these people to account as a journalist? And of course, we are the voice for the voiceless, and of course, we represent a whole lot of followers, in the entire globe. So we were not allowed to enter without the voters card, in which just few of us, and of course, we had a joint press release, to show Gambians that this is what has happened. My own humble self, I had interviews with a lot of people. I have interviewed with, of course, lawyer Yankuba Dabo of UDP. Of course, I had interview with Ibrahim Tabora Mane, the independent aspirant. I also have interview with the second vice president of the Gambia National People's Party, Dr. Demasabali, the administrative secretary, one of GDC, that is no other than Ibrahim Anyang, and of course the media officer of PDOIS, Keksane, and others. So they all had similar message. That is, they are disappointed. What disappointed them is people like Dr. Sabali. What he told me is he is only able to check one file of a candidate. Even with that, he was not allowed to take his pen, neither his booklet, to take jotting. All said and done, it was to us, it was not the kind of public scrutiny we expected. Even there were people, the politicians, what they were recommending is next time if such is to happen, they have to allow the journalists even to get in with their cameras, at least show everything to the entire world to see. Because if you want to be a president, you are aspiring for the biggest position in the country. Gambians need to know your credibility. Gambians need to know your qualifications. So basically, these are some of the twists and turns that happened at the IEC. It ended up this way, and the very day, around 5, they have to at least bring their press release to the journalists to show them that 6 Gambians, of course, 6 candidates, aspirants are qualified.
Okay.
In the 15 of them.
Let's add Barrow. Do you think public scrutiny is fairly conducted, or is it that we should not have public scrutiny at all because of this sensitive documents and identity and all that stuff? Or should it be open just like he suggested?
Well, I think, let me preface this way. Public scrutiny is something I see actually put it there. I stand to be corrected, but I see nowhere in the Election Act that require public scrutiny. And then nothing in the Constitution that actually warrants it. Now, IEC, arguably could say that since, the Constitution gave them the power to make rules and regulations regarding the, operation of IEC itself, and then in the Election Act, it has an option for any voter to object to the nomination of a particular candidate. From that logic, the only way you could reasonably object would be to at least know what has been filed. So from that, maybe that's where IEC stem out the public scrutiny requirement. But even with the Election Act, there is a specific, requirement regarding objection, what you can object to. It has nothing to do with documents, but it has to do with, for instance, if a nomination is facially invalid, like they don't meet it, or maybe a color of a candidate, or certain specific requirement. So to that extent, if IEC is going to do public scrutiny, I think where people can object under the Election Act, journalists should be given unfettered time and access to review those things for them to report to the citizens in order to make informed choice and see whether they would object. That's one thing. And then when it comes to sensitive personal document, that, in terms of privacy law, you could not disclose those things without third party. There is a fine line. You have to make a balance. They are seeking for public office. There are certain things that would naturally come out. IEC would know it. And then there is a balance where the public has a right to know whom they entrust with their public service because they are acting in a fiduciary duty. So I think that balance requires public scrutiny. But what I am unhappy about, like the way IEC conduct public scrutiny. the Election Act says, returning officers only sit there between 8 to 4 p.m. And then you're asking journalists to come and scrutinize 4 to 5 when you are making, like, let's say, even if you give them on better time from 5 to 7, and then they have 1 hour for each candidate. By the time they are done, you already made your announcement about the candidate. So it's a frivolous exercise. I don't get it. So that's the part I don't understand. You cannot tell me you have a right to something, but you wait until the deadline passes and then ask, hey, by the way, exercise your right here. That's where I have trouble with in terms of the procedure in which the public scrutiny is conducted. I think IEC need to look into that.
Okay, Dabakh, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I think, what brings about all these issues is, like I always said, I've said it during our last program, I said Gambians don't read. And it's sad to say, but, our journalists also sometimes, they have to take responsibility for what their role is in our society. Because they should be the ones who should relay information. Their information should not be like they're dictating people to buy into what they're saying. They should just relay the facts, and people read it, and then they make up their minds. And technology has made it very easy. For me, with regards to the public scrutiny, I think what needs to be done is IEC has a website, and every candidate who wants to run for public office becomes a public issue now. So you cannot want to run for the highest office on the land, and you want us to entrust you with over $33 billion, our annual budget. You declare your assets, but you don't want Gambians to know how much you are worth. So for me, that's why I have an issue with some of these candidates who are complaining about privacy and all this stuff. Because the fact that you decided to run for public office, it's no more a private matter. You are coming out there in public and you will be scrutinized. People will ask questions and they will make informed, based on that is how they will make informed decisions and choices. But what needs to be done is IEC should profile every candidate who submits their nomination papers. And with technology, they can scan these documents and they can upload it on their websites. Gambians, instead of going to IEC, could go to the website and verify some of these things that they posted. And the journalists could help us, especially the investigative journalists, to verify some of the things that are submitted by individual candidates. I think that will help a lot in making the process flow swiftly. But also, people need to understand, I don't think there is anywhere in the Election Act where it stipulates that if you are going to scrutinize candidates, you need to go with a voter's card. I think it's when you are making an objection, you need to be a registered voter to make an objection. And to verify, IEC to verify that, you need to go with your voter's card. But also as a voter, there is limitation to what you can object to. Because I've seen people make a lot of noise about these candidates are not qualified, this guy has, because of this person should not be, But people need to understand one thing. The Constitution says the interpretation of the Constitution is the sole responsibility of the Supreme Court. So no matter what, IEC has no role to do interpretation. What they can do is the Election Act has specified some of the things that anybody who wants to run for office needs to fulfill. Like there is a minimum requirement. So if any individual has an issue with other things that you think the Constitution bars that person from running for office, the only thing you can do is to go to the Supreme Court and petition. But also you need to come up with evidence. I'm not a lawyer, but I think Mr. Barrow will help. Lawyers will always say he who hazard must prove. You cannot accuse somebody of something without tangible evidence to prove what you are accusing the person of. And that is very much common in Gambia of recent times. People will just jump out there and make outrageous allegations against people without the tangible evidence to substantiate their allegations, and which I think is definitely not good for our democracy. Because those people also who are running for public office, these are family members. They have kids, they have wives, they have people who like them, they have followers. And I think it's upon all of us to give them the utmost respect, not them as an individual, but for the office that they are running for. The office of the presidency is one of the highest office on the land. And it's not the individual who occupies the office, but the institution, what it represents. That is what we owe our respect and allegiance to as citizens. And I think if we have to build a genuine democracy, tolerance, fair play, going by the rules, I think is very much important.
What I was wondering, Gambians are saying, well, how can we verify that the asset declaration they made is correct? We don't know. What do you what do you think?
Okay,
how do we know? For example, SR he put his declaration here and there, 2 million, that 2 million, 3.8 million, and do you have that, Jaye? Do you have that? Do you have that on with you? That information? Okay. So how can we tell that what ESA?
Yeah, I think I need to clarify 1 or 2 points before you go to ESA files issue.
Okay.
That is in regards to the issue of journalists. You know, IEC, IEC, they playing the role of referee in this whole context. They are leading, and journalists, we are going by the dictates of IEC. Depending on what we were given this stuff. I know very well that in the constitution is not written anywhere that you have to present your voter's card in order to get into that room for public scrutiny. In public scrutiny itself is in the constitution. It doubts me. But what is more important is during the training, all of these concerns that lawyer Barrow and of course Mr. Malick have raised are very, very important, genuine points in that. But these are points that we raised to the IAC, and basically that was the reason of the training. We were there almost the whole day from in the morning 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock to relay this information. IAC put it very clear to me, clear to us, sorry, because we were there with the IAC chairman, Alhaji Mamour, and of course the CEO as well. So it was put to us clearly that we will be given the opportunity to access these documents as journalists. That was the message that they relayed to us. Of course, with restriction that we cannot film anything, we cannot take picture of anything, but we can write anything that we can object to. So in case the final list is out. But
yes, Jallow, I think another 5 years they have to work on that. 5 minutes is no way. You know, before you even put your foot on the step, enter that room, 5 minutes, 5 minutes is gone. But we want to talk about this asset declaration before we go into the show itself. This asset declaration, Malick, how can we say that this is for real? This is what SFL have. This is Bausedu. This is what he have. This is what President Barrow have. And by looking at it and the way we. Okay. So what do you say to that before I move on?
You know, my background is finance, and audit is a work that I've done all through my life, and banking. So what I can tell you, Gambia is a very conservative country, and people are very much secretive with regards to their personal incomes. You understand? I don't know for whatever reason, but people feel like declaring their net worth is an issue, especially to the public. But what is important is, let's look at it this way. I can tell you that the possibility of people not declaring their assets 100% is very high. And I'm referring to both candidates, all candidates that participated. You know, you see, sometimes what people do is they have assets that belongs to them, but the assets are not in their names. You know, the assets could be in the names of family members. You know, it could be in the name of friends. People may make other investments outside Gambia and they will not even declare it. So for me, I think there are a lot of things that needs to be done for us to get there. But also, candidates who want to run also for office should understand the importance of publicly declaring your asset. Because some of these people, before they ran for the office, they've been doing other works. Some of them were business people and they had other investments. So those investments generated revenues for them. So if you don't publicly declare what you own, 100%, tomorrow when you leave office and all of a sudden another investment pops up somewhere, people can still accuse you of corruption because they can say you got this while you were serving in office. And probably you may have it well before even you went into that office. So you see, as a leader, honesty should begin with yourself. And I always say this to Gambia. People always talk about corruption. People always talk about mismanagement of public funds. But the truth is, before you can hold anybody accountable, the accountability aspect of it should begin with yourself. Every day when you wake up, ask yourself, what have you done not to engage in corruption or to help promote corrupt practices in Gambia? After yourself, most of the people working in government, they are not aliens. They are not non-Gambians. These are our people. These are our family members, our fathers, our mothers, our sisters. And these are people who are openly engaged in corruption. Because the mansions that they are building, the vehicles they drive, they send their kids to university and we celebrate them. These are the people we name after our kids. These are the people we give VIP treatment when they come to our events. But we know the funds that they are giving us are not legally what they've worked for. You understand? So for me, I think unless and until every Gambian is accountable, it will be very difficult for us to have a corrupt-free society. And corruption is very difficult to fight, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
But this is one way that we can minimize it. I think it depends on the honesty of the individual who wants to run for office. But I also think sometimes also journalists can, or the individual can inflate their net worth before coming into office so that tomorrow, when they get into that office, if they amass certain wealth through corruption, they can always justify it because they've given a higher value of their net worth before they come into power. But I think what the IEC needs to do is every asset that is declared, they need to, the National Audit Office to get involved, to go and do what they call asset count, to make sure they verify every asset that any candidate said is what they have.
Okay.
If it is a structure, they need to go and see the structure. And they need to have a independent private valuator to evaluate some of these assets, because I think some of these structures that are given, they are overvaluated. So to avoid some of these things, I think these are some of the things that needs to be done. And that is why I agree with Barrow that the process of running for president should begin at least 1 year or 2 years before election time, so that it gives candidates an IEC to be able to scrutinize all these things independently to make sure every candidate submits what is true reflection or a fair reflection of what their worth is. If not, people will just estimate and give you rough estimates just to bypass the process.
Okay. Barrow, asset declaration.
Well, I'm not going to go too far to ask for, forensic accounting, but I think if the true intent of the legislation, let's say the public policy behind it, is to curb corruption, we can achieve that simply without doing much. Currently, as it stands, like for presidential nominations, I think it's section 42, subsection 7 that require nominees to submit asset declaration and then tax clearance to indicate that they are in compliance with all their taxes, right? The problem with the law itself, because we have to bifurcate the two. It's not a dichotomy. Like the Constitution also require asset declarations, but only top senior civil servants, like maybe president, ministers, and then because it exempts people in the public service, like the ordinary civil servants. So that's different through the ombudsman. This one too, the Election Act required. Maybe the intent, behind the legislation is to make sure that we know what you have when you're coming to office and what you go. That way, there could be true accountability if there's investigation. The problem with the language of the legislation, it only requires that you declare your assets to the best of your abilities. There is no, it's not a carrot and stick kind of legislation where there's an incentive for you to be truthful. Now, as Dabakh said, I can inflate my assets because maybe I have ulterior motive that if I get into politics, I want to make sure if I steal as much, and then to the ordinary public, it would appear unsuspecting, telling them that, hey, I declared that I got $10 before coming to power. And then when I leave, I only have $9. So in fact, I lost when maybe your true asset is $2 when you come in and then you gain these things. Now, if there should be a true investigation, they would know that. Or I can underreport my assets and then still come to office. Maybe I have so much money because I don't want to appear to have a lot of conflicted dealings while I'm in office in my other investment. There could be a lot of things. The problem with the legislation, it only asks you to declare to the best of your abilities. What the legislation should have done, like is in the US, even with federal employment, when they are doing background check, you have to sign those legislation under penalty of perjury, where the penalty for such violation, you are looking at a 20-year felony sentence. Now, that's enough incentive for you to be truthful in that application. So you would be it has to be a honest mistake for you to at least circumvent those perjury laws. If election declare that, look, whatever assets you are declaring, you must declare this under penalty of perjury. And then if you intentionally and knowingly lie on those forms, you're looking at a criminal offense. That would make candidates to think twice. They would hire appraisals. You put the burden, at least you would be on top of your game. The reason being, if something were to happen tomorrow and then you claim that, oh, no, that's my asset, they could use those evidence, like they could prosecute you under perjury laws. Just like if you're applying for federal certain programs or having certain clearance in federal government, you have to, complete those penalties. Case in point, General Flynn, what happened to him when he signed those disclosure and then he forget. So if Gambia has that, that will help us, because it would be a catch-22. If you intentionally rely on those asset declaration, now you end up becoming a precedent. Later you want to claim otherwise, we can use it. Or if you overvaluate your reporting and then income tax, if I'm GRA, I'm looking at all these things, I'm coming after you, how much you declare on your taxes. If you want to state otherwise, now you can have it both ways. You looked at their, certain declaration, like, well, didn't you just declare that this is how much you are worth in terms of, let's say, whether it is, liquid cash or, fungible items, or is it, long-term investment? But now you are saying one thing when it comes to taxes. At least the government would have the power to keep these people at account. But the problem is with the law, not the IEC. I think that's where the problem is. And times have changed, and I think our foresight should be to look into that and then close those gaps. Because at least up here right now, everyone is just sitting and then thinking, well, I live in, for instance, I live in Turntable, and then it's a high prime area for real estate. There is no true real estate value in Gambia. I'm going to declare, to me, in my mind, my house is worth 100 million. Who's going to deny it? It's what a willing buyer is going to go for your home. And then that's how much they are making their valuation right now.
Okay, thank you. So, Jaye, you are ready to come in. That's your turn now. Go ahead. About the rejected nominees. Let's start with Cisse.
Yeah, thank you so much, Binta. And of course, a whole lot of them, of course, 15 of them were rejected by the Independent Electoral Commission. 6 of them were qualified. Dr. Cisse is among the notable list that a lot of people were surprised with, to be frank enough. Dr. Cisse, in one point of time, had dual citizenship, both in the Gambia and in Sweden. Because of the presidency, he had to forgo the one in Sweden to concentrate on this election. And yes, he was disqualified. According to IEC, and part of the reasons of why he was disqualified is because IEC said he did not submit complete 200 voter list in Banjul administrative area, because it's a requirement that each candidates have to register or at least send in a voter registration of 200, of course, voters or members or even supporters in all the administrative areas. So Dr. Cisse, did not fulfill that requirement, in which he denied. He said in fact, the list he submitted is even above 250. So that is the most common factor of why a lot of them are disqualified. The same thing happened to Mai Fati. But for the meantime, we are talking about Dr. Cisse. So when that happened, IEC made that pronouncement around 5 when they had press release with the journalists, and of course it was disclosed everywhere. And that very night, Dr. Cisse went to his Facebook official page, of course, to talk to his supporters that yes, he have had the verdict of the IEC that his party is or he is not qualified to run for presidency. But let them calm down. He is going to follow due course. He is going to take the right footage, and of course, in order to challenge the IEC of why he is disqualified, because he's convinced, in a sense, that he's supposed to at least be qualified for the presidency. And exactly that's what he did. He wrote a petition to the IEC, of course, to show dissatisfaction and, of course, to challenge the decision of IEC, to tell them, look, you disqualified me, and I think it doesn't worth it. I think the number of voters or the number of supporters or even the number of 200 lists that you're asking for is already filed. And, of course, it is part of the requirement. I have fulfilled the requirement. So, but he didn't just stop there. When they did, in which he is part of it, my Ahmed Fati is part of it. Of course, what IEC told them is, look, the decision that we have confirmed to Gambians is that you people are not qualified, and that is where we're going to stay put. There is nothing we can do about that. So I think we have gone to the extra mile. I think right now, as of now, we cannot identify of whether he have chosen a lawyer or he have at least talked to a lawyer. But what I can assure you is that his case is already, he have taken the IEC to court. I don't know when shall these things be sit over, but for the meantime, he is not just stopping at IEC telling them that they are rejected. They wrote a petition. IEC still confirmed to them that we are not moving an inch. Our first decision is where we stand. And doctor, for the meantime, is the one that I had want to go to court with IEC with regards to this issue.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jaye.
Yeah.
Okay. Brother Sarjo, the Gambia Constitution, citizenship is acquired through birth, descent, honorable, naturalization, and honorary. So, which citizen among this, the citizens that is qualified to run for president? Because as our people will say, Lua Meseatan, you know.
I think those not qualified to stand in Gambia would be those by registration or naturalization. That's the clear example. Okay. They cannot, stand for presidency in that. Gambia, the narrow distinction between citizenship by descent and then citizenship by birth is this. When my closer reading of the law, when it speaks of citizenship by descent, what it's talking about is Gambians who are living outside the Gambia, and then they give birth to kids. Because one of their parents is a Gambian or grandparent is a Gambian, they are Gambian by birth. It's as if they were born in Gambia, natural soil of the like citizenship by descent, like meaning, okay, these are of Gambian descent, and maybe they are just living outside the physical borders, territorial borders of Gambia. Now, when they say citizenship by birth, it is a little bit confusing. It's a misnomer. Unlike the US, it doesn't mean if you're born in the Gambia, you become a citizen. Yet, you still have to have one of your parents or grandparents being, of Gambian nationality for you to have that Gambian citizenship. But the operative language there, you were born within the territorial jurisdiction of Gambia. And then that's what the distinction is. There is no distinction between these two by descent or birth to stand for president. They both could. The only restriction is, I think, citizenship by registration, and those who were naturalized citizens, they are not allowed to run for presidency. So that's the only exclusion, if I remember correctly, in our constitutions. But that's where our law stands as to, who can stand in terms of citizenship.
So when we say citizen by birth, so kids that are born in the Gambia with, let's say, foreign parents, they are not qualified to run for president.
No, they are, well, it's not even qualified to run for president. They don't even drive citizenship in the first place. Yeah, so they are not citizens of the Gambia. So that's the some kind of misnomer. Most people would think whenever you say citizenship by birth, just like us in the US, you would just assume, well, if I'm born there, and then naturally I'm a citizen. But the Constitution requires that there's a condition attached to that. at the time, the event took place, which is your birth, either of your parent, or, grandparent has to be of Gambian citizen in order to transmit that citizenship to you. But the event took place within the physical territorial borders of the Gambia. Like, say you are a Gambian ambassador outside the Gambia in foreign office. If your kids are born even in that foreign country, the law would presume as if they were born in Gambia, citizenship by birth, because that's the territorial jurisdiction of Gambia. But for someone like you, me, who are outside the Gambia, if we have, the fruits of our loins here, our children, they're still Gambian citizenship. Those born in Gambia, the Gambians over there, they have no greater right than our kids. The only difference is the constitution. But if we're looking at the strict definition, it's just citizenship by descent. They just acquire citizenship through, parents of Gambia.
So, okay, Dabakh, go ahead. Citizens, is that fair? If you are born in the Gambia with the foreign parents, okay, I am here. To be honest, let's say the way it is. Okay, brother Sarjo, our people, they enter the plane just to come to the United States and have that baby. 2 weeks they're gone. The baby is a citizen. Why not Gambia? This child will be born in the Gambia, grow up in the Gambia. They're still not considered citizens. Malick, you go ahead.
Yeah, you see, and this is why I think Gambia had a missed opportunity. And this is why I always say when it comes to national issues, we should put emotions aside and have a frank discussions about issues. You see, the draft constitution that was drafted, these are some of the issues I was going to vote against that constitution. Because I'm a firm believer that citizenship should be given to anybody that is born in the Gambia, whether your parents are Gambians or non-Gambians. And I have a reason for that. There are certain people who came to Gambia maybe 20, 30 years ago. The kind of investment and assets they have in Gambia, they don't even have it in their original countries. And most of these people, their kids were born in Gambia. They know nothing about where their parents came from. So if you deny these people citizenship in Gambia and their education, their lifestyle, they've already taken the culture, they've built their friendship in Gambia, they've built up their lives in Gambia. If you don't give them Gambian citizenship, by the time they graduated from university, it will be very difficult for them to go back to their original father's land to claim for citizenship there. Even whereas when they got the citizenship, they will find it very difficult to settle in that kind of environment. And which means you are denying them the right to belong to a country. And most times they end up being kids without a nation. So for me, I think these are some of the conversations that Gambians need to have. I think it's going to be very difficult, but it should be something that we need to talk about. And these are some of the things that I think the past draft constitution was supposed to take care of. But sadly, we most of the conversation was based on the 2-term limit, whether it should be retroactive or it should not be. So they made us lose a whole opportunity of interrogating that draft to know whether it's progressive or it's not. Because I had a lot of people say it was progressive, it was this, it was that. But to me, I don't think that draft constitution was definitely progressive. Because a progressive law would not sideline any citizen or deny anyone the right, especially fundamental rights that are basically even universally accepted human rights. So I think these are some of the conversations that Gambians need to have. Okay. Apart from that, you see, I've seen this issue also during the registration of voters. People make it an issue. And these are some of the things that I think the Gambia Bar Association even needs to come out and hold public discussions about some of this for people to understand who is a Gambian citizen. You know, in a simple layman language. I think Sarjo have explained it in detail, but a lot of Gambians would not even comprehend it. Because I've seen people said, okay, this guy should not register in London Corner because he was not born here. Or this guy should not register because he was born in Guinea-Bissau. I can still be born in Guinea-Bissau while I'm a Gambian. Because if one of my parents is a Gambian, or both of my parents, because we know we have Gambian immigrants who go out of Gambia to other countries to seek either knowledge or greener pasture. During the period, they can marry Gambians in Gambia and take them there, or they can go to those countries and marry citizens from those countries. But the fact that I'm a Gambian, when I have a child, the law recognizes that child as a Gambian because I'm a Gambian. And this is what Gambians need to understand. And for me, I'll just go back to what F.A. Boigny said, the first president of Ivory Coast. The more immigrants you have in your country, the more diverse you become, because all these people that are coming, they come with knowledge, they come with experiences, and it gives your country the leverage to develop and progress. And that is why you go to Ivory Coast, you have people from Gambia. That's why they say even their former military junta leader, General Robert Gaye, some are saying he's a Gambian. You see, Alassane Ouattara, some say his parents are from Burkina Faso. You know, but all these people have gone on to serve Ivory Coast at the highest level. And today, if you look at even the economy of Ivory Coast, it's one of the most successful economies in West Africa. And the country is progressing because of the diversity of the people that they have. And I think it's about time Gambians start to learn from that and start to accept other people.
Okay. Brother Sarjo, Jaye, I will come back to you. If the constitution of the land accept dual citizenship, why should we denounce that part of us just to run for the highest office, just like Dr. Cisse did?
Well, the short answer would be because we say so, we the people. The constitution could discriminate as much as it wants. Yeah, I understand. You can change it, it is fixed. But before coming, there are a few things, about what Dabakh said. And then I think this is important. We can all be proponent of progressive, immigration and nationality laws. For instance, citizenship at birth, you drive it. But one thing, this is the misconception in Africa, especially, let me put it this way, West Africa. Almost every West African, our constitution mirror. And then the idea that someone is born in the Gambia and then is stateless, it's just a fallacy. It's just like if you're a Gambian, you have kids in Senegal, they have Gambian citizenship regardless of their status in Senegal. So no one is stateless. And then I agree to Dabakh's point that, for someone who is born in Gambia, let's assume, their parents immigrated. Let's say I'm an immigrant in Gambia with my wife. I have a child there, lived there for 20 years. I have a kid who grew up in Gambia up to 18 years. And then let's say I never decided to naturalize. I just remain, a citizen of my country, and then I'm still considered the equivalent of a permanent resident in Gambia, or I have the alien card. Let's say I don't want it to get citizenship. My child reached the age of 18 or 20. For all mean and purpose, he's Gambian. He grew up there. He knows the culture. That's what he knows. Let's say I'm from Senegal, and then he doesn't know the country. He never been there. I agree to that. But what folks fail to understand, our law actually have provision and cater for these things. Your parents might make a conscious decision not to become citizens of the Gambia because of some incentive or tax consequences in their home country, or whatever the reasons are. But you as a child, if you grow up there, we have the Children's Act. It actually protect them. In fact, they can go to school. They can be educated there. They have access to almost everything. Once you reach the age of majority, which is 18, you have a decision to naturalize and become a Gambian citizen, because that's where your parents might make a conscious decision for what better suit them. So I think if we are talking to the public, we have to make this thing very clear. In as much as we see problem with, not the outright birthright citizenship, our constitutions, just like any other constitution, cater for those things. In fact, birthright citizenship, which, I think it has a lot of benefit in my opinion. And then I'm a proponent for it. I'm a little bit conservative when it comes to the Gambia. I think it has to be incremental because of our resources. The truth is, Like US allow 1 million people to immigrate to the country. There's a reason for it. They sit and then understand why they have to do that. The policies, the economic reason, the factors. They know that they can take care of that. We are barely struggling to actually accommodate for what we have because we don't have proper structures, institutions, and then that's a disaster. We have to have frank conversation if we want to talk about these things. But the point I want to make clear is, we have laws that take care of these issues. It doesn't mean you will remain in Gambia and never be a citizen. And then two is lack of awareness and then sensitization. Personally, when I'm in Gambia, I don't even know people could naturalize. And then as someone who went to school there, thought like I have somewhat education, I don't even understand the concept of immigration. Someone from Guinea, the guy who had to stop in the door, the kids, we play together. I just think of them as Gambian. And then I don't understand why they run away from the police because I'm not exposed to that. I don't even think you need papers to come to Gambia. So I just thought it should be like that. We don't know about it. And then most of these people, if you look at the Gambia law, the Immigration Act itself, the fees are so nominal. Now, when I think about it, I was like, why would you bribe an immigration officer $1,000, $2,000 is just to go free when you could pay less than $1,000 is to have documents to say in Gambia? It's insane because they don't know. And then there's a lot of protections out there. I think lawyers should be out there sensitizing civil societies and then even immigration to let these people to curb corruption. So that's neither here nor there, but I think citizens should know that Gambia is not an exception, and then anyone born there, even if your parents are not citizens, you do have a right to become a Gambian citizen once you reach 18, because you could decide for yourself and become a citizen, because after all, that's the country that's where you grew up. And then if you love that country, the prudent thing would be to naturalize. Just like every other country in naturalizes and they give exceptions. And
they cannot run for presidency, even they grow up.
It's just like here. You and I can't run for presidency in the US. We can't be presidents in the US. Every constitution, would set up a flaw. If you're not a natural born citizen in the US, you can never run for the highest office. You could be a vice president. You could be anything, but you will never run for that office. That's why the opening language in every constitution is we the people. They decided as a society. So you have to inculcate that, and then their cultures, you cannot divorce it entirely from the people they decide, what they think, is good for them, what is not good for them. That's the whole concept, the bedrock of Republican government. People decide what they want to do, and then they can change it. So that's my take on that. Regarding the dual citizenship, I think Gambian constitution is more generous to any citizen than I can think of. I have expertise in immigration nationality law here. I've been practicing it so much. What the Gambian constitution offers to have citizen, you cannot even compare it to what the citizenship laws in the United States give it to citizens here. Gambia is the only country you could be dual citizen. They allow it. I mean, here does dual citizenship, but not only that, you can renounce your citizenship and then restore it back without actually going through. Imagine in the United States, you renounce your citizenship, you become an alien. You would start fresh again these very legal ways to acquiring permanent residency and become a citizenship.
You will not make
it. In the Gambia, you could drop it and then pick it up where you stop.
Right.
So it gives so much latitude to our citizens. So, but it is saying that, look, when it comes to the office of the president, we are not going to allow for dual citizenship. I can understand the reasoning behind it because it's the highest office. Because if you are a citizen, let's say you voluntarily pick up a citizenship of another country, there should be two distinctions here. There are voluntary act and involuntary act. You and I, our kids in the United States, they involuntarily become citizens of the Gambia. They are citizens of the Gambia by operation of law. They never swore allegiance. They just get it by operation of the law. But you and I make a conscious decision if we become citizens here to voluntarily accept that citizenship. And then the only way to do that, we have to swear to oath of allegiance. So I think maybe the drafters are looking at this. The foresight is anyone who voluntarily pick up another citizenship, you swore to allegiance of that country, we would question your allegiance to the Gambia. And two, that's the highest office. You will have security briefing. You would have all the requirement it requires because it's very, very sensitive and compartmentalized. So we are saying that you cannot hold dual citizenship. My beef with it, it's not the reasoning. I think it's a good law. The only beef I have with the constitution and the law itself, it has good policy, background, but Gambia was never ready. If my country wasn't ready to provide the background for me to go to school, graduate in Gambia, look for work in Gambia, and never have the desire to travel and then find a way of life other than just tourism, then how can you have the audacity to tell me that I should not pick up a citizenship somewhere else when you fail to provide that for me as my parent? That's the part I'm coming from. Gambia, we know since 65 we are struggling. Almost every Gambian family wants their people to go out to look for feeding, to provide for them. So in as much as people could have citizenship in other countries, the reality is you could never divorce those individuals. A first generation migrant from Gambia, you can never divorce them from Gambia. That's the reality. You could not question their allegiance. I think the law should have looked at that, especially National Assembly, understanding our specific circumstance now as a country. I don't know about the future. Maybe if we can, provide for the country. What they could have done, once you submit your nomination, you win election, there should be a mandatory provision in the Constitution before you could swear to the oath of office, you must renounce the second citizenship. At least that's a fair enough game.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, that's where my beef is. Not because I don't think the current law is not well grounded in public policy. It's just because our country, the circumstances doesn't support it. That's the reality. Americans can tell their people, renounce before you even run, because they have the audacity. They provide for them. You could go to school here, you could graduate here, have a decent job without even moving out of your state. Much more talk about your country. But Gambia, you could not provide that. You beg us to go out. In fact, you wish we travel in order to send that remittance. And now you want to tell us that because we have to make that sacrifice for the country, we cannot participate in our election. I think it's a little bit.
Even National Assembly, if I want to go and work for my people today, I leave my children here with my husband, and I want to go and work for Combo East. I want to be a National Assembly member. That's the way I think I will be. Let's say that's the way I think I will be effective. And I have to renounce my citizenship. The
laws can change. We need
to do something about that. Jaye, go ahead. What did you hear about when
that's why.
What did you? Yeah, Jaye, go ahead. Hold on, Sarjo, hold on for me. Some Gambians were outraged when they heard Dr. Cisse denounce his citizenship. What were you hearing, left or right, before they continue?
Yeah, thank you so much, Binta. I think a lot of people, we are surprised, to be frank, because a lot of them were saying it is difficult to go to Europe. It's difficult to travel out of this country, to go to the Western world. You got this opportunity, of course, not only to be traveling, going and coming, but of course to be a citizen of Sweden itself. It's no more. Sweden is not a small country in Europe, and of course, a lot of even Gambians would prefer to go to Sweden. So some said, yeah, it is genuine enough because he want to opt for the position, and that is the requirement. You have to do it in order to be qualified. Some said it is not genuine enough. Doctor is still young. He could have still wait. Possibly the constitution, as Mr. Barrow said, it can change. We had the draft constitution, new constitution, which was not implemented. Certain things can be omitted in the constitution. It can always happen. So it was mixed feelings. Some of them agrees to him that yes, Jarnako, just like the Olof Jarnako, Ajaretalal. But some to a point will tell you, if I was Peter Sise, Jaralul Mako, Amajarenye, so I would have not gone in for that, because a lot of people know that very well that, doctor is young, number one. Number two, he's well versed, of course, he's educated, but it's going to be very soon for him to be president this very year. Looking at the incumbent, looking at the UDPs, looking at other political parties that have been in existence for quite a long time. And you're looking at him coming to the political framework, not along. A lot of people would have said if they were a doctor at that point, they would have not even go in for that. If that was part of the requirement, he would have withdrawn and joined one of the political parties. But always, when I had interviews with him, he will tell me, I have things more especially. Remember, Doctor was part of the first Gambians who at least, gave the Gambians 10 points, his 10 points agenda. There was a time he had that debate with Honorable Halifa Saleh. After a few weeks, He gave out his 10 points agenda. So he had in mind that he have something for the Gambian people. So just going packing his luggages to another party was never the solution. So he can only implement certain strategies and plans if he is accorded the leadership, of course, by the Gambian people. So even if it was me at this point of time, because Doctor is young, he have the ambition, yes, he have the knowledge and experience and expertise, all what not, yes. But if I was him at this particular point of time, I would have let it go for this year and wait for the subsequent elections to come. But that is Doctor. Everyone is entitled to what you feel like doing.
Thank you. Dabakh,
Yes.
I'm still on this citizenship thing. I'm still on this citizenship thing. I won't let it go for right now. Gambians will say, diasporians, when you guys go, that's it. Nobody's coming back. You have money, you don't come home. You are educated, you don't come home. But do you think our constitution have restricted us, the diasporians? Because some people right now, they are focusing on Gambia too. They want to sacrifice, they want to come home. But there are so many layers out there that we need to peel off and peel off and peel off. Is Gambia losing out?
Yeah, absolutely. Gambia is losing out because, like Sarjo said, the kind of education and the level of education one can attain in the West and the kind of job experience, you cannot find that in Gambia. And I think any citizen that travels outside the Gambia for even a day learns one or two new things, which I think if the person brings back that experience to Gambia, will add value to what we currently do. And that will only better our country than the current situation. But also, what I think is, for me, I don't have a problem a Gambian holding a dual citizenship running for office, either the presidency or the National Assembly. Because we all understand once a Gambian, you are always a Gambian. Even though a lot of Gambians are outside, they've gone on to attain citizenship in those particular countries. But I can tell you the love and the commitment they have for Gambia is way more than their current countries of residence. And a simple answer to that is the Gambians in the diaspora contribute over 40-something% towards our GDP. You cannot put over $500 million in an economy if your allegiance is not in that particular country. Maybe because it's my business mindset, because I'm not going to invest in any company that I don't have beliefs in. You understand? So, and that is through the official channel. How many more monies are coming through the unofficial channel? Like me having a friend coming from America and I say, oh, okay, I have $20,000 or I have $10,000, take it from me, and then you bring it. When they come for holidays, how much money do they spend? You understand? Some of the investments that they do, some of the direct investment that they do in that country. So for me, at any point, I don't question their commitment towards Gambia. And I think Gambia needs to look at this legislature. And then I think it's about time we change it. We change it not for anything, but I think Gambia is losing more than gaining from the law. Okay, what we need is we need to have institutions that are very strong, independent, and are able to hold public officials accountable. Because we already have three arms of government, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. But also we can have a fourth estate, and which is going to be the media. So once the president knows he can be held accountable by the National Assembly, and the National Assembly also understands that they can hold the president, they can hold the executive accountable, they have the powers to impeach the president. If the president goes against the national interest of Gambia, now it becomes the responsibility of the National Assembly to petition him, to impeach him. So knowing that there is that law to be impeached, I think the president would always do whatever it takes and in the interest of the Gambia. So for me, I think the dual citizenship issue needs to be looked at. But I also think some of the candidates also who wanted to run for president, knowing fully well they had dual nationality, I think some of them were not ready. They were definitely not ready. I think they just saw an opportunity of what happened in 2016, that people who had no political base came in and joined the coalition. When victory was achieved, a lot of them became ministers. And they saw this year also has an opportunity that, okay, let me just go out there, launch a campaign, knowing fully well I was not going to relinquish my citizenship, especially those who came from US. Like Sarjo said, US may be different from other countries. If you renounce your citizenship of America, if you want to acquire it again, you go through the process from zero.
You will not even try.
So how many of them?
Sarjo will say, I'm not even going to defend you.
Exactly.
I'm done with you.
So from the beginning, they know they were never going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yet still, they went about fooling Gambians that they are committed. They're going through the process. This is what they want to do. No disrespect. I had Marisok's excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I appreciated her for coming out wanting to run for the office because I never knew she holds a dual citizenship. But when she gave that interview, I lost respect totally. Because the fact is, she knew what the process is, and she knew she wasn't ready to do it. But yet still, she has the audacity to go to IEC, pretending to submit a nomination form, which I think, as a leader, you have to be very honest with the people you are ready to serve, and you must be accountable for your actions. So for me, I think what she did was really disrespectful to Gambians, and she wasn't honest.
Okay.
With Papa Fall, the same too. Tamsir Jazi, the same too. All these people were not ready to relinquish their US citizenship. I think they were just taking the opportunity so that they can go into coalitions with the expectation that they can be appointed ministers when their coalition wins. But it was not a commitment that they were willing and ready to do it for Gambia. The person who was willing and ready to do it for Gambia was Dr. Sisi, and there are some examples by doing that. And I think Gambians need to remember him for that. And it might not be now, but probably in future, it could be a payback time for Gambians to reward him for that sense of patriotism.
Jaye, go to Marisak. What disqualified her before we go to Brother Sarjo up there?
Yeah, thank you so much. Marisak too, as you just mentioned. Very interesting indeed. Part of the things that disqualified her was what happened to both Dr. Sisi and, of course, Mai Ahmed Fati. She could not produce 200 voters to back her nomination in the administrative areas. And, of course, part of the things that disqualified her too was the campaign ethics and code of conduct. Marisak didn't have that. In fact, a lot of things in the side of Marisak were missing. A lot of things, indeed, honestly speaking. Because if you look at one thing, there is the 200 voters, or of course 200 members that needs to qualify you in any of the administrative areas was lacking. Of course, she didn't submit a signed code of conduct. Of course, you have to sign a code of conduct to the IEC and you submit that. She failed to do that. Asset declaration, she didn't do that as well. So Marisak was found wanting in that as well. So she didn't fulfill the legal requirement also. The legal requirement as per IEC. So basically, these are some of the 4 points. As I can agree with Dabakh, Mr. Malick. A lot of points mentioned are very factual indeed. A lot of these candidates are never ready. Because looking at all these points, some are only 1 point, some 2, like what he mentioned. Dr. Sisi, notably, it was that 1 point. 200, you failed to submit 200, and he have to challenge that to court that he submitted 250. For that, one could say he is a little bit somehow serious with his political ambition or to be a president this year. But looking at Marisak, asset declaration. You fail in that. You didn't submit, of course, a signed code of conduct to the IEC. That's the second thing. You are someone who, of course, did not submit the legal required number of support for nomination. In fact, the 5,000 members, before even going to the 205, 5,000, because you have to get that 5,000. So for Mari, I think, I am not sure there are things that she actually did correct. I'm not sure. It could be. Okay. I am not sure actually. What I'm saying is, she's found wanted in most of the cases, in most of the things that IEC are requesting for. But these are the fundamental things, or these are the key things that IEC are asking for. Well, if you cannot get 5,000 voters to back your candidature, you cannot get the 200 required in all the administrative areas. You cannot submit a signed code of conduct. You didn't declare your assets. Then who are you looking, what position are you looking for in the Gambia? Because Dabakh said something that is very clear. Some of them, because it happened in the past, that you can, is a way of going to face the IEC, because only having that political ambition, having only that political ambition doesn't qualify you, But facing the IEC, journalists will be there, the entire globe will see you, people will know about you. Then from there, you know very well, 100% that I'm never going to be qualified this year. So there you have already sell your image, Gambians knew you, and of course you get famous. Then from there you can back any of the political parties. Okay. Right now, she is with the UDP. And a lot of other candidates that backs the president and other people as well, most of them were never ready, because you cannot, at least, you cannot file in your nomination and you are found wanting in all these 4 key areas as a president, aspirant. You want to be a president and you are lacking all these things. Okay. Well,
Sarjo, with all this listed for, excuse me, Marisol, but she came up with this claim that it's dual citizenship. Where did she pick that from, you think?
Probably the Election Act itself. Okay. You know, Section 39, subsection 2, clearly indicate that IEC should not accept nomination unless it is facially clear that they meet the requirement of the presidency under the Constitution. And then one of that is you can be a dual citizen. So if you are looking at in technicalities, he's correct. If the claim is, I have never renounced my second citizenship when I tendered my nomination, that would be a ground to disqualify her. Now, IEC may not be too technical in going to that, even though that could be apparent from our application. They just see it fit to actually address the statutory requirement under the Election Act that disqualify her. You know, specifically the 5,000 votes and then 2,000 from each administrative area. It's the easiest way for IEC. It's just like applying for an immigration benefit in the US here. Let's say you're in an immigration court, you apply for asylum withholding, and then, or even green card, you're married. What folks fail to understand, you could meet all these statutory requirements, but these are discretionary form of relief that, you know, the Congress empower Attorney General to exercise her discretion. So government attorneys, if they think they have a better chance in a denial on discretion, for instance, let's say you're someone who have, you know, 3 DUIs, you know, before Castillo Perez, before laws change under Trump. Let's say you have 3 or 4 DUI. Everyone would think you are a danger to the public. You might be eligible to have green card, but the government could deny you as a matter of discretion because you are not a person with good moral character. And then that decision is unreviewable. They are not going to deny you by saying that, for instance, your marriage is not bona fide, because those are constitutional issues. You could challenge that. The easiest way is, we're not even going to talk about that. Even if we think the marriage is sound, we're just going to deny as a matter of discretion and then forget about it. So IEC too, depending on how their internal process works, they're like, you know what? The easiest way is you don't meet 5,000. We're not even going to go to this one. And then that's what we are going to claim. Now, from her vantage point, you know, it might be appropriate or a very good political move to say, folks, I took this seriously, and then I'm working on my renunciation, and then it's just taking longer than time, and then that's what disqualify me.
But Brother Sarjo, let me ask you, if you want to renounce your dual citizenship, should it take 2 years to do that in America?
I'm not going to speak on that. But
okay, I have someone here. Salif Diko said, we will not allow dual citizenships because you hear a car horn, you will think it's a coup. You run out with our country's money to your adopted country. No dual citizens for president. I think this, I've never thought of this. I never heard nobody say this. If you just hear a car hunt, you hunt, beep, 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 you run with our money. You thought it's coup d'etat. Thank you.
I think he's speaking of Afghanistan. That's the allegation in Afghanistan. Like, but I mean, it's a valid point. Hey, okay. I'm not going to throw it away, but we can take, solace in the fact that.
But, okay. So, Sarjo, you're running away from this question. If I want to denounce my citizenship, this is free service for me now. What would you advise me? How long would it take?
Well, hypothetically, I'm not speaking of, hypothetically.
No, let's say it's me, yes.
There are many ways to renounce U.S. citizenship. Mm-hmm. And then the ones that Supreme Court actually has taken up, unless you are it's very difficult to renounce U.S. citizenship. You cannot just renounce it that way. It has formalities. Unless you actively participated in war with the U.S., where we are having an act of war with a foreign country, then that would be an intent to renounce citizenship, because that case, I think in the 40s or 50s about a Japanese descendant that actually fought against the U.S. case come, whether that qualifies as renunciation. But what is, State Department was the easiest and the most, simplest way to renounce U.S. citizens is just writing a letter of intent. For instance, like green card abandonment, there's a specific form for this. It's called I-407, immigration form 407. Complete it, sign it. It's on the penalty of perjury. You don't even have to put your green card there. If you put the in number, mailed it, voila. Once they receive it, it's processed.
But
you could write to the State Department. You could write to the State Department with an intent to declare renounce your citizenship, enclose your U.S. passport, get a copy, and then send it certified mail.
Okay. Thank you. Viewers, we are on also right now, your vote, your voice. We have Brother Sarjo here. He's a lawyer in the States, but, we don't forget back home. So he's a lawyer back home too. So we have our concerned citizen here, concerned Gambian, Dabakh Malick. We have our reporter here, Jaye Jallow. And your sister is here, the one that don't ABC Fangamano. So and we open the line. You can call and contribute. The number is right below there, plus 167-839-000539. You can call and contribute to this show. It's open for you. Please call. Jaye, hold on. Let me unmute you. Now we can go to the next. Another interesting candidate, which is Honorable Maifati. Bring it on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Binta. My Ahmed Fati was, I think, is the biggest surprise in the list of those aspirants who were disqualified. Looking at his legal occupation, because Mai is lawyer by occupation, a lot of people never expected Mai to be on that list, because legally he's equipped. He knows the law very well. He knows what it requires to be a president. Although since he formed his GMC, Gambia Moral Congress, he have never contested elections in the Gambian history. But when his name falls in the disqualified list, a lot of people make noise that why Mai and other stuff. That very night, Mai also went to his Facebook to write and show his dissatisfaction that he is not convinced and he's not accepting the verdict of the IEC, because 200 people in Banjul administrative area, no, he's someone who have fulfilled the requirement. So what he have to do is he have to rush to the IEC. But remember, it was according to his video that he is viral. He said IEC asked them to be there before 12. That is 12.
Where did he get that from? In fact, we were wondering where he get that from, because I was so sad and upset, saying that why the IEC should go home if they knew that these people have to turning their appeals before midnight. I was really upset. I was really
In
upset.
fact, that's what he said. He said when he reached at the IEC, the first thing he did is to check whether there was anybody. He could not
Yes,
find anyone
yes.
at the IEC compartment. So what he did is to call Sambujan Jaye, the CEO, to confirm. Sambujan told him, I step out, I am not there, I am at home. He called the chairman. He also confirmed to him that I am at home. And the chairman gave him to someone to call someone and see whether any of them is there. So he called and could not reach that person and still called Sambujan. Sambujan said, well, I am at home. He called the IC chairman again for the second time. And he
According
has
to
to
him.
confirm, yes. And he have to confirm to my Ahmed Fati that, well, I am at home and there is nothing I can do about this issue for now. So he said he was roasting for time because already the time stipulated was before 12 a.m. And he was roasting. If you see him at that video, he was telling like, please don't call. I want to make a statement or I want to put things clear. But with all those things, with all that you have between my Ahmed Fati and the IEC, IEC still stay put on the addition. And what they said is, what we said is final. My Ahmed Fati, you are not qualified, you are not qualified. And the next step for my Ahmed Fati, I am expecting it to be at the court. I haven't heard yet from the side of my, the only one that I am sure will proceed with issues legally is Dr. Ismail Assis. For my Fati, that is his case. He went to the IEC, could not meet anybody, called the CEO, he has nothing to do about it. He called the chairperson, he said, well, I am at home, there is nothing I can do about your case. Unfortunately for my, and a lot of people were asking, why am I going there at night? But also, the big question is why ICC is giving the time when nobody will be there at that time. So I am, some to a certain level, are seeing this as a way of frustrating those who want to appeal against the decision, because some would find it very reluctant to go there at night. Some might go, but remember, Binta, no one, I wasn't even never expected IEC to be there, the chairperson to be there up till 12 a.m. What for?
Okay,
Somebody who is bold enough at that stage.
that would be my opinion. But we can ask them. I think when I had Dr. Cisse on the interview, he said 48 hours. It did not mention exactly. It will be Monday, Friday, Saturday, so date. But it said 24 hours. Dabakh, you come ahead. Go on with Honorable Maifati being outside. I was really, he gave me hypertension that night. I was not happy with IEC. Okay, Jai, hold on.
I don't think my has his party has the necessary structure that is needed for him to compete in an election countrywide. And this is based on facts. Because since my registered his political party, he has never contested. GMC has never contested in an elections. They've never had a National Assembly seat. They've never won a councillor seat. They've never won a chairman or a mayoral seat. So that shows a lot about the party. And that's where I always have an issue with IEC. Because the laws for operating political parties in Gambia is very clear. Some of these political parties, I think IEC needs to register them. Because we cannot have a country in which political parties are run more of like briefcase parties. One individual registering a party and then that's it. Because the necessary structure that you should have across the country is not existing. And also, I think he's a lawyer. That's what he said. But I don't think he's a lawyer that understands the Constitution, or maybe he just wanted to use that to amaze sympathy during the period, or give excuses for the reasons why GMC's candidature was not successful. Because the laws are clear. It didn't say before midnight, it said 48 hours. So even CA, that is a new party, they knew about these things. So I think May should have known better. And the actions that he did, I think, was very unnecessary. And it should not have happened. Okay, he said he's going to take the issue to the Supreme Court and all that stuff. I doubt until I see that. Because like I said, people who are serious about this process, they go on doing the right thing. And CA, you can say or disagree with them, but I think what they are doing, they are setting the pace for other parties also to learn from. Because Gambia is a country of laws. And if we want to strengthen our democracy, we must follow the due process. And also some of these decisions that happens, we can make complaints. Facebook is not a court. It's not a competent court. It's just a public opinion court where people can make decisions or whatever, or they can make their own judgments and all that stuff. But the only credible place where its judgment will stand is to go to the courts. And I think it's important also, it's going to set a jurisprudence for future happenings similar to that. So I think it's important that we always try to use the courts to address some of these issues than using social media or trying to get public opinions on issues that public opinions might not necessarily have much impact on the outcome of some of these decisions. Okay. So I think also IEC also needs to communicate more, and they need to update their websites, the Election Act, the Constitution that deals with political parties, that deals with elections, how elections are processed. All these things, I think they need to put it out there on their website. And if they need to communicate some of these things, both in local languages, they need to do it so that people also can understand. Because sometimes politicians will use situation and then twist it in their favor to turn public opinions. And IEC is an institution which is more of like a bank. The reason why people walk into the bank to deposit their cash or deposit their gold or jewelry for safekeeping is because they have trust and confidence in the institution. So IEC is an institution that not only political parties, but voters need to have absolute trust in their dealings and the process to be able to come December 5th, when they declare the results, even when politicians don't agree, they will find it very difficult to push people out on the streets. Because politicians are always very good with that. When the results don't go their favor, they say it's not fair. So that is why IEC needs to communicate better. They need to better prepare themselves, and they need to make decisions based on law. They should not look at appeasing people or looking at, okay, this is the easy route, let me take this way and then do it. No. They need to be very clear in their communication. For example, like, okay, I saw a lot of, like, CA said they deposited 290 registered voters for Banjul.
Yeah.
But what is clear is, if the law says if a candidate, if a voter nominates more than one candidate, that nomination is nullified. So if let's say, for example, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, but if part of those people who nominated them nominated other candidates, that person's nomination is nullified for all the candidates. So that is why when they tell you 200, probably go around 2,000 or 2,500, so that when they disqualify some of these people, at least you can have something to hold on. But if you go slightly above, and Gambia, you understand Gambia, people will still, even though they know, but they will still go ahead. And some of these candidates also would pay money to get people nominate them. Okay. And in Gambia, if you give people $200 or $300, they will nominate you.
Okay.
So I think that's it.
When Sarjo, if the courts happen to come out and said, well, let's just focus on CA, because they gave a list of other parties that will appeal. But let's just take a good example of CA, because they are very serious about this. If the law comes out and said, well, they win their case, while in the middle, let's say a week before the election, what would the IEC do?
Well,
I'm not sure what they will do, but what would the law? Just help me with that. I don't even know what to ask.
Well, this is the problem right now. If you look at Gambia jurisprudence that are coming out since 2017, and then in terms of constitutionalism, what has been consistent with our Supreme Court, and then this is my opinion, I think Gambia Supreme Court is a conservative court, right? And then what they have consistently said, whenever, you know, an action is against a state, this is a domain, when it comes to election, is traditionally state that handle this. Even though IEC, you know, is an independent body, it's a state action. The state is in fact acting, you know, conducting election. So in the State Procedure Act, even in Yakumba case, and then you know, UDP versus Attorney General, from the decisions that are coming out, whenever you start an injunction, because the clear thing would be CA would file an injunction with their appeal itself, enjoin IEC from at least, you know, removing them from our campaign list or any of the political process before the court reach decision. But the clear suspect to that is that injunction will be denied because Justice Jallow, Chief Justice Jallow, consistently held that, you know, there would be that presumption of regularity in all official action, unlike here in the US, you know. And then that's the standard in Gambia. We have to accept it. We can agree to disagree, but that is our jurisprudence there for now. Just like when slavery was very legal here, people don't like it, they keep fighting, courts change, and then opinions change, you know. And then, but that's Gambia, so that is going to get out. But what I would expect, as we see in the case of Yakumba, IEC as a independent body, they should have legal counsel. You should make all logistic, you know, preparation as if CA will be part of the process, just in case if the decision doesn't go your way, you are in a position to make so CA participate. Otherwise, they would have serious problems because they have to accommodate the decision, and then they would have to make logistics for CA to continue. So I think they will be prepared and then make sure that as if the contingency, this is how election will go, CA would go to election as if they lose. If that doesn't happen, the logistics are there. But I think they would have to prepare for that. And then I'm sure they were prepared as if 26 people are going for election initially. That should be the presumption. They shouldn't prejudge. That's how I looked at case from that perspective regarding how the court would, you know, if the court decided that CA should continue, IEC should go the other way. But at least, you know, IEC internally, I think they should be ready, have the logistics, and then assume from, you know, ab initio that, okay, 26 people declare their intent, we are going to prepare as if 26 people are going for election. You know, that's how it should be. But if the internal memorandum or the mindset is, even though it's so apparent from most, you know, like-minded Gambian that some of the candidates, we just know, you know, they are not ready, they are not going to be, it could be apparent, but IEC should not prejudge. Because once this litigation suit comes, you know, if you're a smart lawyer, I mean, Gambia, the problem with Gambia, when I review like civil procedure, we don't have so much discovery in our civil procedure. But if this was here, a classic example is when states sue former President Trump regarding those immigration ban from countries. His own words were the ones that actually haunt him, because they were able to prove there was corrupt intent in banning certain specific people because of their religion. And you can do that. There's a limit to that, in as much as, you know, the immigration and nationality laundry and not. But if that is based on corrupt intent, they will undo it. You cannot base it on religion, you know, race and all that stuff, even though you are the custodians of law. There are limits to what you could do. And then those were the things that actually prove that there were some corrupt intent, and then the court were to refine. So IEC too, because if these suits are filed, like if it is here, like where a country that has some 300 years of jurisprudence, you could bet they will depose the chairman, they will depose the CEO. You will file interrogators. You will know how their thought process was preparing for this election. If they have this laissez-faire attitude of, they are not serious, it's just going to be, you know, the old cards as usual, and then that is not going to tip in their favor. But that's how I looked at it. But having said that, this is the problem I have with IEC. You know, my issue with them when it comes to registration. I agree there should be open registration period, but registration should be ongoing and continuous. When there is open registration, you create centers, people can go and then register. But every citizen, registration should be open until the day of elections. In the US, you could do it. Maybe we don't have the logistic, but at least maybe a week before election. The only difference, what I hope IEC should have done is, once open registration closes, IEC should have a presence in every administrative division or region, how we call them now. If you want to register, now the burden should be on you to go to them. They shouldn't come to you. You miss the open registration period. But if you're still serious, you are in LRR, go to Masakonko, for instance, their regional head, and then file the application, register over there. If you're in Kerewan, go to the administrative center. If you're in West Coast, go to the administrative center and register. That's how registration should go. And then with this disqualification, the Constitution has the flaw. It's the flaw. You cannot derogate any right that the Constitution gives. It only asks, I think Section 46, subsection 8 says that you have to have 5,000 votes, 200 from each administrative area. Now, Section 45 gave National Assembly to make electoral laws regarding these. The operative word is THIS, this chapter. The question becomes, is that because this is an unclear precedent in English language. So again, it's poor drafting. You don't know whether it's talking about paragraph 2 in the Constitution itself, the preceding subjects, that whether subsection 45 is talking about the preceding subject or is talking about the sections that are to follow. So that's what's not clear, and then we would have to leave that to the court. But the Constitution itself doesn't require that electorate cannot nominate two candidates. The Election Act does that. The Election Act is the one that says, I think 42 subsection 3 or 4, it says that you can only nominate one candidate for the same office. And then the following subsection stated that if you nominate more than two candidates, it's a race statute, meaning whomever bring their nomination first to IEC, we would accept that the second person wouldn't accept it. They don't disqualify the nomination at all. That's what the law says. If I deliberately nominate Dabakh and then nominate Mr. Jallow, if Mr. Jallow happens to come first to IEC, my nomination would count toward Mr. Jallow. It will strike out for Dabakh. So these are questions whether, those statutes requiring that, this nomination only apply to one, are they in excess of the originating statutes of Constitution? That's a legitimate legal challenge. And then two, in my opinion, CA has a very good legal issue here for our courts to settle, because the substantive law itself, whether that section of the statute substantively, whether it's, unconstitutional, is a very good question. Does it violate Section 26 of our Constitution that says that you cannot make electoral laws that unreasonably restricts people's right to participate in their political process? Is that an unreasonable restriction? And then two, procedurally, let's assume IEC is correct. Dr. Cesar people. And then they are putting this. UDP come with 50,000. IEC determine who registers when and then where. Say you have 500 people that nominate Mr. Jallow from Banjul. And then Mr. Jallow come to IEC first and give that 500 names. Mr. Dabakh comes and then he received 300 nominations. But all his 300 nominees were part of Mr. Jallow's 500 nominees. The question is, out of that 500 nominees, does IEC only take 200 and then the rest they don't use? Are they free for Dabakh to use? Or because they have signed their name on Mr. Jallow's seat, I think Form 1 of Part A, does that mean that any name in Dabakh would be disqualified automatically, even though Mr. Jallow doesn't need the entire 500, they only need good? These are not clear, and IEC is not making these answers. These are legitimate questions. And then procedural due process, there has to be an impartial, arbiter, which is IEC. There should be notice and opportunity to be heard. And then I don't think there's sufficient notice. Nomination deliberately at the 11th hour, you tell someone that, we disqualify you. Is that enough notice even under the legislation? Should you give them the right to cure?
Yeah, according to Dr. Cisse, they didn't write to him. They didn't tell him anything, and he just heard it on the TV, like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are serious issues that the courts should look into, and then at least I think they should settle that jurisprudence for future elections. And then, I think that those are important claims. And then for that part, and I hope that they process and then take it to the court.
Okay. Jaye, you come on, because we're running a little bit behind. We have two more candidates. We have Aliu Sow of Gab, who was accused of forgery. Go ahead, Jaye. What else do you have before you go to your next candidate?
Well, thank you so much, Binta. This is a very, very interesting topic, one could say, because I was a victim of just like what happened to Dr. Cisse. Like my time at the college when I was doing my advanced diploma in education, secondary. I was a candidate for the post of sport minister. Of course, we submitted our documents, we were called for interview, and at the last minute, I was not shortlisted in the list. I went to check my name, I could not find it anywhere. And of course, when I went to the IEC, it was indicated on the board that under my domain, under my column, I was disqualified because one of my flyers or one of my pictures was with one of my friends in the other class. And IEC said they were going to disqualify me because one of my picture was seen in one of the classes, while official campaign did not start yet. And in the constitution, collect constitution, it is saying that when you are physically present to do campaign before the official campaign period, it means you will be disqualified. So that's what happened. We wrote petition. We were 57 or 54 of us. I was part of them, and I wrote. I said, for me, I'm not going to wait because this is not part of the law. You cannot disqualify me based on that. So we wrote, unanimously as a group. We filed one to the IEC and the other one to the administration. And the administration have to call the IEC and take the files of each of the candidates and check. Some of them were because of document issues and other stuff. They didn't qualify due to the requirements until they reach at my file. Then the college administration have to tell them that this boy have to be part of it because that is not part of the constitution, college constitution. And I was accepted 2 days before election, while the others have already did their 1 week campaign 2 days before election. The day I was accepted is Thursday, and Friday was the day that we are going for this thing. How to call it? We were going to the hall, face the students, talk to them about our manifestos and all whatnot. And the following day was going to be election. It was a very interesting moment because just 2 days before election.
So that example might not be good for Dr. Cisse to hear it because it's not a good sign for him.
They give me option of going further, whether they're going to push the election date so that I would have equal days with them on campaign, or at least 1 or 2 days to campaign. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Now what we can do is the day that you are going to use for us to convey at the hall, give me that morning, that very morning, from morning to 2 o'clock, then I will go to the classes, and that's how it happened. And I end up winning the position of a sport minister. So it could happen to Dr. Cisse at the last minute too, when the court ruled in his favor. I don't know what happened with the IEC at the national level, but I was accepted 2 days before elections, and I have to vote.
Yeah, you just want to give Dr. Cisse a sleepless night. Let's go to the next candidate.
Yes. Which of the candidates are you referring to?
Let's do forgery. The forgery guy, Aliu Sow.
Aliu Sow, they said he forged on the nomination form. On the nomination form that he filed to the IEC, that was forgery. It means he used names of people who were used by other candidates. So basically, that is the forgery that they are talking about.
Okay.
So
Alaji Kurang. Alaji Kurang.
Yeah, Alaji Kurang also was part of. He was also part of the things that happened to him. Alaji Kurang also was among the things that disqualified him. Was this requirement of the 200 was part of it, one of the portions that disqualified him. And the other thing is, basically this issue of 200 nominees has affected a lot of them. A lot of them, if you look at them from A to Z, almost 98% of them are victims of that, are victims of the 200, lacking to have the 200, not only in one administrative area, but in all the administrative areas. It was lacking. Some of them also the 5,000. But for him also, one thing that happened is he submitted the list under the name of a political party.
That is not registered.
While that political party was not registered. Alaji Mamadi Kura. You know, already he has a political party that was not approved by law constitutionally to be established in this election. He cannot run under the ticket of that political party. All right. So, but for him, the major thing why he didn't qualify, it was he registered his nomination under a political party instead of a candidate independent. So I think that was, for him, that was the major thing. But what I was telling you before coming to Alaji Kura was, most of them, Binta, 98% of them, this issue of 200 in all the administrative areas and the 5,000 was a factor in almost 98 of them. So Alaji Kura, the outstanding problem is registering his nomination form or filing his nomination form under a political party that was not registered by the IEC.
So that does that mean Dabakh, does that mean that these are the people you are saying, well, they are not in fact serious? Because that Alaji Kurang, you will be thinking that the party is not registered. Why would you put some of the names on that, your documentation under that?
Yeah, I think some of these people, the problem they have is not looking into details, but also working on their own and not having people with legal experience or legal mind to guide the process.
Okay.
Because looking at some of these forms, you may think it's a very simple, straightforward issue, but you have to also understand that some of these things are backed by legal justifications. And sometimes, even though the Gambian constitution, I always say, is very simple and direct, but you know, lawyers can always go around words and give it a total different meaning to what us, the English, in a layman English term, the word will really mean. So I think some of them were definitely not prepared. I think it was just an opportunity or the height of the 2016 change, and a lot of them saw what the 2016 coalition offered some of its members, and a lot of them thought also this is an opportunity that I can just come in and participate in the process, but knowing fully well I was not going to make it. So in the final analysis, I can just go and join a coalition. And if the coalition wins, I become a minister or an ambassador or holds a position.
Okay.
You know, so you can definitely see from the onset, you know, some of these candidates were definitely not ready.
Okay. Brother Sarjo, we heard forgery, also of GAP. So is there no laws that could punish serious issues like forgery?
It does. Even the Election Act, you know, actually has those laws. And then if you commit any bribery, treating, you know, corrupt practices, for instance, in Aalysis' case, what has been alleged, you know, if ICE is alleging this guy commit, you know, forgery, the penalties are, you know, you could be fined up to, I think, not to exceed 2 years in jail. I think the fine is $5,000 or $10,000. I'm not sure, but you could have up to a penalty of 2 years in prison rather. And then in addition to that, once you get out, they could disqualify you from, you know, entering into politics for a period of 10 years, either from the time you serve your sentence or from the time of conviction. So this is a serious allegation. And then I would hope, you know, if IEC is alleging, you know, forgery, and then I would think they would send a recommendation to the AG's office to actually prosecute criminally, because this is a serious crime. You cannot claim that someone commit forgery in a very serious election and then let it go. You know, that's a serious allegation, because one, you soil his name and reputation as a candidate, and then put your money where your mouth is. If you're saying this is forgery, and then you know for a fact it's a forgery, and then you are not just being lazy as IEC and then think that, oh my God, Binto came here first, and then the name she submitted is A to F, and then Sarjo just come, and then all his names are from A to D. Maybe he just copied from Binto's paper. That's a serious. You cannot just be that naive. I would expect them to at least review this thoroughly. Do you have evidence that forgery is a high standard? And then if that's what you are charging, you should recommend prosecution. The laws are there to be respected, and then it's going to set an example for other candidates. You know, that's what I expect.
So, sorry, I say forgery. It's forgery. Yes.
Yeah, forgery. You know, that's the highest standard. And even for folks
who actually nominate 2 or 3 candidates, there are penalties that could make you ineligible to register as a voter for many times. IEC, if you are alleging these things happen, go after them. My suspicion is 2 nominations are happening because the fact is people are paying for nomination. And once, if there's an incentive for people to nominate, they will do that for money. And then for especially those doing it for money, I think IEC should take this list, send it to the agency chambers. Even after the fact, they should, go after these people and then, set an example. That way, we are going to keep each other accountable and understand that this is a very important process. You cannot just mess with it. And I think that should happen.
They should set an example, because where these things are going, and Gambia, we put laws down, we do not implement them. So hopefully they will do something about it. So for in future, people will not be doing that. Okay, Jaye, we want you to wrap up about the candidates. Where did they go? Where are they now? What is going on? And we wrap up. We can go. Sorry, the callers are calling, but I don't want to cut this conversation just that. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, today, UDP started officially their campaign. They were on their courtesy calls. Today, they have crossed. One thing is certain is the GDC, Gambia Democratic Congress, until now, they didn't start. And of course, they're going to start tomorrow as well. Of course, they are also going to cross. And tomorrow, they will be going to Barrow. And of course, having other places. I can take you through to the places that they are going to. Are you referring to today, or are you referring to a brief of everything of what has happened?
Tell us about the candidates. What is their fate now? What is going on? The qualified ones, they are on the campaign trail. Maybe we don't have time for that right now. Maybe next Saturday we can. Yes, but where are the independent candidates now? We find out that Marisok is now UDP. Where's Alaji Kurang and all them?
Okay, that's fine. I think, Marisok is with UDP. Alani Kurang have joined the UIS. Of course, the NPP take the largest share, because we have General Lamin Bojang have joined them. Ibrahim Tabora Mane's case is very interesting, because one point, there was a statement that he is out, he's with the NPP. And of course, later on, he said he is not there anymore. We have seen M.A. Ba, the one who was part of that, of course, NATO Alliance group, have now joined the president. Of course, Mamadou Ba 1, Mamadou Ba 2 have all joined His Excellency, the President, Adam Barrow. Yes, have joined the president. One outstanding aspirant who said no was Banki. He said he cannot join this party unless and until they approve his request that any of them who happen to win have to legalize marijuana. And that was the point that he didn't agree with a lot of them. So he wanted to join any of the parties, but he said if you are to accept, or if you are to accept the legalization of marijuana, then he's going to subside. For now, he said he's not joining any party for the meantime.
But they also say Marisok met the president. What was her demand? She want to be a vice president. And
that was also very interesting. Yes.
If UDP have accepted that kind of condition.
That was also a very interesting moment, because according to WhatsApp Gambia, what they have written, Marisol met the president, but her first request was she have to be a vice president first. From there, she didn't stop there, and 4 top official jobs in the government have to be given to his party, plus his vice presidency to make it 5. And I'm sure that was a message that the president never wanted to hear. So I am right now. He's with the UDP, United Democratic Party.
What qualification does he even have to be a vice president at first?
Well, that is what makes it interesting, because a lot of these people, some of them to this level, is the political parties that are scrambling. When somebody, you are there, you have been shown to the media, people have seen you. When a political party like the NPP or the UDP comes and knock your door and say, look, I want you to be part of my party. Sometimes you also have to brag. You have to say, look, if I am to accept, you have to offer me this, you have to accept this, you have to accept. You see, look at Banki. Banki have his principle. It's because of the
Let's send that to the lawyer. Brother Sarjo, Banki is requesting that
legalize
we have to legalize marijuana before he can endorse any of... Yes, anybody who accepted it. What do you think about the legalization of marijuana? I cannot even pronounce that thing, that.
to me, from an economic standpoint, from a criminal justice model, what I believe, I don't think it makes sense sending youth to prison because you cut them with one joint. I think the law should have exception like recreational use. If you are, caught with, let's say, 30 grams of marijuana, recreational use, maybe, that's like a joint, we can understand that to be a recreational use. But if you are manufacturing, selling, there could be some prescription on that. But at least, the intent of the law now, we should move from this, punitive, aspect of marijuana and then move to a rehabilitative step in terms of our criminal justice system. A lot of these young people, cling to marijuana because they don't have a lot of activities, provided for them. This is their, gateway drug, that's what it is. And they lead to more hard drugs that is, disproportionately affecting our young population. And then we are seeing it in the violence and then the crime on the street. Marijuana by itself is a non-violent crime. What I would think, at least there should be some balance, recreational use of certain drugs, and then the government should have a lot of rehab and then treatment centers for people who wanted to, stay clean and then kind of help them out. But to make it a full-scale commercial business, there might be a lot of economic factors to that. But I think, in my opinion, Gambia, that would be, it has a concern for national security. One, our borders are very porous. Two, and then from history, what we have known, unscrupulous people could actually hijack the products, and it could be a breeding ground for, other illegal vices, terrorism and others using it as that trade. That's my fear, even if it is regulated that much.
I guess, Jaye, do you have anything before we find out? Last question for everybody. Do you have any last one? We'll let you go, and I'm gonna let them go too.
Yeah, I think the only thing I just want to give update of where the political parties have been to today, more notably, because I think it's important for the Gambians to know. Today, Saturday, 13th of November 2021, NPP just they reached Basse just now, and of course there is no activity for them. GDC going to cross to Barrow tomorrow. PDOIS, they are in the Combo South. Of course, they are there. South and the Kitties, the Cartons, the Kunjurs, the Sanyang, the Tujerens, and other stuff, the Tangiers, the Burfoot, and they're going to have a rally at Burfoot today. And of course, you have the UDP, they have crossed today to Barra. From Barra, they will be going to Fast Njagachoy, and Aljam, where they're going to, of course, have their big rally today. National Unity Party are in Nokunda, Katikali.
Hold on. Go ahead, Jaye.
So that is it. Any national unity?
Jaye, go ahead. I was running away from calls, but let me take this one.
Yes. And of course, you have independent, that is Esamba Fall. He will be at Wasu and Jarome. Of course, from there, he will be going to Lamenko, Janjakure, Boraba, and he will have his big rally advancing today. So basically, this is the itinerary for the candidates, excluding GDC and NPP for today, because GDC are going to start tomorrow, and NPP have traveled to Basse, and of course today there is no activity for them.
Okay, hold on. Let me take this one caller. Hello, caller.
Yes.
Can you reduce your background for me, please? Your name?
Okay, Safion Drame, calling from Italy.
Drame, Ibirimintina.
Abaraka Bake, be kontonna, be la panalisol, be kontonna, be la timo fana kontonna, be do ko mena Gambia ngajele alama albe solamanta beola. Be panalisol be nyinin kala, ngajele ko fly afintita, kaje ko presidential candidate ol nyanta ka president debate le soto. Ibe mu yamar le soto la Gambia nyolien, president candidate ol mele alon ko imal la fi ka participate, katela policy ni la programme explain, kadol la policy ni programme challenge, kaje ko etelle ta betiata. Mel political party nyaton kol mela lon ko imalla fi kake adu ila normalan kol be ba kan pour kake ye mune soto be muna mabo kan Gambia nole pour yete nyon candidate ol face ka fo e kon della policy wala be tiata atella policy because nyin kuma ata bakele the Mali in your face because you don't katala rally you don't katala rally men diate dae ka wala fo ite ka fo ntel tabe ta nyindi but nalbe face to face al nyaabe nyola albe loring albe nyo challenge la yenyi memfo ata kenola yenyi memfo ata kenola gambe nol be sirin kella moy ngamuta ko wolto gambe nol be right choice kala dina ka fo kon te participate la nim political party o indi leader men ngalon ko amalla fi ata lafta bankola bara amalla fi kata nyin debate atele mu yamar la soto wolye anale mu yamar la soto wala normalan kolye min la lidan balanta pour katela police fo gambia be nyaati lola ñin ñaata kañin dam mala ñin ngal bulu assalamu alaykum mala baraka baake be ko
all right okay Sarjo al you know ke mandika kawala he wants to know ngamra letal do about the debate but still akwali mu yamar le soto he came the other way around Sarjo what do you have
Ndede la miralo munyinede. Gambia whether debate leng or no debate. Momo ibe kata file me. Inyanta learn what they can do for you individual. That's where it start. Politics is local. Gibe sitting at your dinner table. Suto ebe sima on Dabakh. Along sima on ya soto nyari la kolaya lebang. What are the plans masakunda me membe la kata onyineka. Atebe mineke kan purgo soni andite. And then imo multi me ala kebe kuranto kunto. There are some things if on salon ko wekeno la nyame you have to look at it ya jibe or maybe need mo multi me alan ko businessman wala muti ko dole siate bulite lafte banale kana mo jo ajibe patio me alan ka be di less tax break di later it's about interest membe that fundamentally so ni memo policy natina inte fe ko may la carte on need whether be campaign la faye specifically nyanta nyini kala lete semine non te ndela ko la dal mu jannet itela masakunda la policy ni priority mine boro yo nyinika debate ntangamero kumata Gambia in as much as it's going to be unrealistic ka fa ko in debate kata December 4th election the voting kala on isule ngolane but at least it's going to open a door mole nyo critic openly you understand the amos ya but at least na be debate la ni kite ko look ndebe nyim policy karni karla kan yajale moderator si nyini kan la koy but ye opportunity so debe jana nyim policy be kere yun inena mang bala wala o inena man sowala o modo safana no ila nyim plano ni o ko be nyim mona ngam le bon la do ko economic solo yo fa abe nyim problem din da fa ko la mona ne la to kala explain Gambia wala at least Gambia ni nyaay o je la leader solbul regardless of having an intrinsic bias men so da ka fa ko mba fa la nyine na tele denta na wata sikele ibe mira sinya fula hanni ma kanyim fenko do but it's going to start a third process ibe ka re mira ya ko he yara masakunda nyanta nyine kala mole yara leader sol nyanta nyine kala so I think it's important mo be la leader nyine ka I don't care about the semantic language coming model coming mira fan de ini left ini Gambian left ka al ka kan le memoy that's our language ini na le ka kan la le memoy ye nyo nyine ka ya explaining and I think it will enrich our political space
kola solve kol kral nga ye yam fanye mbatu nga yung kola kilongota malo daba
Yes.
Daba ite mine mirot Daba you say it in Wolof please.
Yeah, no, people need to understand one thing.
Daba hold on. Caller.
Yeah, hello.
Your name, please.
This is Binto. I'm Abdullah Dabakh from the Netherlands. I'm calling from Holland.
Netherlands, Sumia, Corito Mantara, Akaya Corimang, big blanket, ye pilota, ye head, Aka hair dryer, Tayake da bol koto. Sumia.
No, but I'm in the house. Mang hitamala back, but
okay. Go ahead. You can roll it.
Anyway,
yes.
I'm saying hi to your panelists and you also. Today I'm lucky to get you.
Thank you.
So I will say hi to Sarjo. He's my nephew. So Sarjo, tell him Abdullah Dawa from Dankunku. I'm saying hi to you. After me for the coming one first main appointment of Banky. Banky came in for like legalized marijuana. At a malong marijuana legalized Bangkok for security. You know, I could have understood the me and went all better for a dada. You never legalize marijuana legalized because of marijuana. Kodolomati. I mean, a monkey hard drugs like cocaine, but kodolom. So near start banko kandrong, banko entered that banko menga the security force 100%. Ndebe banko menga nyang holad. Marijuana is legalized long time. Now that banko follow Europe kono. Therefore, maybe dunia fangono me legalized. You go and buy, where the security is intact. So somebody going to Gambia telling Gambians to legalize marijuana, anyway, I don't think Bank is serious about that. I'm not against marijuana because I've used it, not anymore, but I've used it before. So ngala manke kuja ubade but pulka use because commercial abakela was no keta kuja mala binana dunna kono. Mi ya lonka enda security bamano banko kan no da abakela minti abina banko mol barandega instead of aida handi. So I think as a politician, I don't take that as serious. Because campaign keola. So and another second point that that is just the last caller is talking about debate.
Debate, yeah.
Debate, politician debate. So on the I'm also not against it. For politician debate, it's a style America, American leaders, test. But every politician a benyantala CV published lale. Gamen ol benyayaji. Ajita school minto, high school minto, college minto, university minto be abondi. Moliaji in public. Otherwise, I support UDP. Mafala UDP leader Kanata, ani moyelo debate na. Na mari malas ala CV pintindi, ala curriculum vitae, ala school minto anywhere in the world. I pintindi molia toji. I degree means that I be printing the molia. Because the candidate is intact, available from Bansang to Gambia School to Nigeria to Canada, and a schedule bele betering. So Momo, ela fena elo alea nyatri nyola, ikarantas dauda from Gambia lam, ela certificate reba bele fidela publish molia. Otherwise, debate, they advise UDP supporters, let them not allow Dabo to stand with anyone to debate. Because most of them
not in the CV. Not in the CV.
CV for America. America, Momo is over president Mijay Belota. Ila life Molka Beleji. Carola. Ika Beleji. So I enter because an American style, let all not Gambia. So now the Gambia will got a yam in Palanta Calolania. Kela all be published more because the opposition party leader they don't even want to show ila kodo ila property. They don't even want to show it in public. So if you are talking about democracy, transparency, you want to lead Gambians, you have to show us those things so that we have the belief that this guy is real. So for Gambian, we alone tell the cool town on Tubabu. But Tubabu got a yamin tell Gambia. America, they want to bring that American politics, American style in the Gambia, but the way those people got to that standard, it becomes Gambia because it's a cool lemabo. This is why I think this point. I'm not against the debate. I'm not against the debate.
I'm still gonna ask this question. Are you saying that Nimba qualified? So are we saying that woman?
No, as a debate, but we have to know. Because you cannot just come, you tell us you have masters, Malaya Bodaming, or being Malaya Bodaming. You can buy America, you can buy certificate in America. Not everybody mean current American certificate or something, but they buy it. You can buy it in Makaran. You can buy it even in Europe. Certificate of the Sunday. So, Mari school in this Google time, Molia Google the school minto, a degree so dame Molia lo. That's what I understand because you move Banco Nyat, even Banco Nyatonkayala. So Banco the rest of the coast far long. Coming for that, not every American misses America, but it's happening. Jawara time, if you come from America in Gambia with your degree, they send you to England for refreshment course. But for the last 25 years, they cannot even articulate themselves in English. So this is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
But uncle, instead of instead of ngake angalela, why not ngake karonika kawala local language?
It's possible. It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible. That's our language.
Okay.
Thank you. But then Nico currently certificate so. You know for president. Nin debate be bolaji. Debate mo ye electoral fin din moliaji. Currently da molia go gul na alta school ol ga fo jendum. I degree so jana fama so. We have to know that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Anyway,
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
Brother Sarjo, my uncle understand hand side. Akaya dolmu slow ladal. Munatinda. This CV thing will be necessary. Because President Barrow, according to him, if he's gonna be part of this Atama University graduate certificate, if I'm not wrong. You are on mute.
Sorry. Well, it's going to be difficult to borrow like Karango. What we know, you understand? Like, for instance, on Wikipedia, you can edit. Wikipedia in Gambia, they will tell you a real estate study in the United Kingdom. You understand?
Okay.
So, but graduated. Like, come Dabo, maybe he has been in the public figure, for instance, Halifa. You know, he has been in public struggle in Gambia, studies, like everyone knows, come and studies in the US, and bachelor's in sociology, and those things are credible, and then I don't think anyone should doubt that. Maybe in newcomer. To me, I couldn't care less about Imari Lakaramo.
Hold on. If we say newcomers, it's only two.
You know?
SFL cannot sit under TRRC among qualifications.
Because to me right now, I couldn't care less about it. But every argument, comment like when they were doing the draft constitution, this is what I believe. Every Gambian should be able to aspire to be a president. There should be no educational requirement. What I hope for, okay. Mankara nyawanya, but I have the humility to look the banko sambano la binteresa sambano wale makamo sort. But every banko dingonyato humility so la go aspire to banko dingot. There should be no educational requirement. Age in understand or niko 30 years. You understand? Maybe but at least karango nyanto dabon di lajele. Banko dingo binyata ko hamo sort. That's my basis for that. But to give, you know, argument for coming, if you're looking at the other fold, it's a legitimate argument in the sense that it goes to credibility. Ni nata. You put your reputation out. You understand? Then it is fair question for the electorate and public to verify those things, because that goes to your credibility as an individual. So, and then to that extent, yes, you know, it is but primary school, but you don't want to put in the curriculum, but it's just like a resume. You understand? Coming like a resume, qualification. It's a vetting process, technically. So, as an electorate, that's a legitimate concern. Like almost in advanced world, everyone running for election, they will put those things. Need that a law firm mode. You see every lawyer profile, admit a court solvent. Every other business is CEO, like experience to give confidence to their, you know, customers and then people. So to that extent, I think Mr. Dabo, he's correct for credibility proposal. But I don't think the argument is Nimo Nati or Nimang Master, so I need to the debate on masters.
One of the point because Dabo Abdullah Dabo. Yeah, mas Abdullah Mbalal nge kuntu yam Abdullah Dabo konyo is not particularly for Barrow. Come me 6 old be economy and jakalije. Why should we need a resume? Because Abdullah
I think I would agree with him. Coming like that's important. If you want to put yourself in public it's a scrutiny, public scrutiny. And then I would agree. You have to put your resume out there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like a campaign website. It should have a candidate profile. Candidate card. I need
Sajal hold on. Jallow wanna say bye. Because at the end of 5 minutes because everybody said we want to hear from Dabakh too. Jaye, you go ahead and say goodbye so we can let you go. Hello, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Binta. And of course, I thank Brother Malick and, of course, Brother Sarjo Barrow as well, because I learned a lot from them. Honestly speaking, this is a very, very fruitful discussion between the three of us, and including you as the host. I have to thank you very much, first of all. Thank you and thank God the Almighty for according me this opportunity. And to all the wonderful viewers across the globe and to the callers, to the ones who text, I'm saying bye-bye until next Saturday. Thank you so much.
Next Saturday, we love you. Sarjo said something. Education is not his education is not too much beef for him. But more about folk and even high school, this requirement is too small. it's too small. So Daba, go ahead. And the Uncle Moila, they should put their resumes out there. I don't know who is down there. Me Alonko will debate. We don't know much about.
Anyway, man, I'm a firm believer that education has nothing to do with somebody being a good leader. And in Gambia, we have seen our fathers, our grandparents who have never gone to school, conventional English education, but they were able to establish businesses and start it from scratch and build them into become empires. But when they died and their grandchildren who are educated took over those businesses, most of those businesses went down. And just to know that education is not the basis for our development, let's just look at our civil service. From 1965 today, the people that we have there are PhD holders, master's degree, ACCA, CA, CPBA, CPA. These are internationally prestigious qualifications globally. Some of them graduated from very prestigious schools. You understand? So for me, I don't think education should be the basis for someone wanting to run for office or not. What I think we need to look at is the character of the individual, their honesty, their love for Gambia, and their reasoning to be able to pick the best to build their team. So I don't have an issue for people to debate, you understand? But we have to also understand that it's not mandatory. There is no law that says that presidential candidates should debate. So that also should be clear. So it's not like it's a by force that every candidate must attend. So, but I'll definitely want them to come and debate.
This is the narrative now. The Gambians want to change this. Growing up, I remember when NCP, PPP, when they are coming, we used to be with the grandmas at the back with the benachin. You have a lot of benachin, you squeeze that thing off and we eat. And the dancing is just, we are dusty from morning till sunset. But we want to change that narrative now. We want to do this politics where we can stand on stage and explain. And these people, we have to ask them what we want. Can we just want to put them on that microscope where if they can run our country the way we want it. We don't want to be still 1965. So,
Binto, with all honesty, I think a lot of the people who want to see this debate they have this notion that I think the only person that is targeted about this, me, I speak my truth the way I see it.
Go ahead.
It's just for the sake of Adama Barrow, period, nothing else. And some of them, it's a matter of trying to belittle the guy because of his lack of higher education, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of Gambian voters cannot resonate with some of the politicians and some of the political parties. Because if you are belittling people who doesn't have higher education, remember, majority of the people who go out there to vote on election day, either they did not even go through the conventional school, or majority of them do not have higher education. So if you stand in front of me telling me don't vote for this particular candidate because he doesn't have a master's degree, what about me who has a high school certificate? You think I will impress you with my vote? I will not, because you are looking low upon me. And I think this is one political mistake that some of these politicians are making. Two, if you talk to most Gambians, they will tell you they will take Rwanda as a reference. The president of Rwanda is not even a high school graduate. But today, if you talk about good leaders in Africa, he's a shining example. So we have seen leaders who are graduates, they have master's degree or they have a PhD degrees, and they become very bad leaders. You understand? So I think, for me, that should not be the basis. And the second thing also is, I want them to debate, but I think if we are going to debate, it has to be in the local language, because 80 to 90% of the people who are going to vote on that very day cannot comprehend the English language. So how can you stand to sell an agenda to majority of the voters in a language that they don't comprehend? So we should not just go out there to debate for debating's sake, but it should be of substance. People should be able, at the end of the day, somebody who is yet to make up his or her mind for which candidate to vote for on election day should be able to make up their mind to say, okay, I'm going to vote for Mr. X because of the economic policy he has. I'm going to vote for Mr. Y because of the health policy that he's proposing. But the truth is, even though Gambians are calling for debates, but 98% of Gambians don't vote based on programs. Even the educated Gambians who went to university, they don't vote based on programs. And a whole lot of these political parties also don't campaign based on programs.
Press 1 to send
You know,
a voicemail.
so we've been following Gambian politics for a very long time, and we understand what the realities are. Yes, we want to grow. Yes, we want to set
you
standards.
really think that
But I
they
think
want
also
to
we need to
undermine
do it
the
the right way. We
president?
should not just rush and jump into some of these things without doing the necessary work that will definitely educate our people for them to understand that election is not about party color, it's not about the individual, it's not about the tribe, it's not about the religion, but it's about policies and it's about concrete policies. Because to tell you the truth, I've seen political party manifestos and I took my time to read a whole lot of them. But some of these policies, I can tell you, they are very unrealistic. I think they just make them for making them shake. But these things, they don't show a clear cut of how they are going to achieve some of these things. So, and that is going to create another problem. Because when you have a plan and you don't have a sense of direction in that plan, you don't have a time frame, it will be very difficult for citizens to hold you accountable for some of these promises that you are going to make. And some of the promises made by politicians in their manifestos are very unrealistic.
Okay.
See, Daba, you see, I agree with you. When the debate is so important, fundamental in Gambia, this is where I disagree with
Sarjo
people.
jandi be dunna na.
Yeah.
Eko sometime eka jutila mo min na nalta dam biri cannot. Ase biri min tinno de, you know. Ase biri min tinno. So we are not hakilo mantawol dolo kang, but it's a good idea. Sarjo, you go ahead.
Yeah, and Dabakh for the policies are unrealistic, and then that's why I'm a firm believer of presidents. You should debate on ideas. Like Dabakh point out, if I'm with a political party in a team, and then in a manifesto, and I think that Ninka idea and sell Gambia is unrealistic in the economy because these numbers are there. We have, what is it called, Jibos now, and then budget canal every year. You have to tell us where that extra money is coming from. Maybe there's leakage in government. So this is where debate comes in. Yes. You understand? And then therefore, I want debates to be in local language. For it could be, there's a concern. It's a legitimate concern coming more debate force in English to ridicule Adam Barrow Abukafo. There is truth to it. And then you look at it one way. Let's see that as a country in English is our official language. And then this is how we are going to transact our business. I think you owe it to yourself. And you can transact in language manner. You become proficient and competent in that. You cannot.
But when we say local language, let's take a look.
Yeah, until after local language, like debate in Gambia,
but which language? Well, in the National Assembly, they're having difficulty with this language. If you say Mandinka,
say it in the language you can. That's my thinking. If I were in National Assembly, if you can speak Fula, Mandinka, Jola, Afuela Kangola, someone could help you translate because you are speaking for your constituency. Afu Kangola, because that's where you represent. You understand? That's what I believe in. If you want to express yourself, don't struggle with English. Yeah. So for presidential debate, the reason I think because Gambia big because Daba is I meant for that it's an interesting topic. People are graduated. You think they will be more sophisticated and then vote on issues, but still now they vote on sentiment. Why? Then it raised the questions. Something is fundamentally flawed because we are not encouraging public debate anymore. Because once you start interrogating that, it makes you think rather than to be a sip and then just follow. Because personally, if I'm voting for someone, I would want to know what your policies are. where I am more passionate about, am I seeing these changes? And then these are things Mele Alonka would ask for that. So I think debate could bring out those flaws. Kaiden, look, this guy is trying to pull a fast one on you. Akanyim policy for they are not realistic. This is our budget. Even if we are generous to the budget and then we stop all leakage, maybe we could only, we can only fold it like in tenfold. The one memo audition, they can make those
they can
comment and then public critics. You understand? Gambians, we don't like to write. Yeah. The clear African proverb, if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. Because
in a book.
So this is the thing. You review a policy, you write about it. Yeah. So so this is where debate encourage. Hey, this idea is unrealistic, it's untenable, but we are doing it for the citizen, and it's form of a civic education. Language debate on issue. Why should we go personality? It starts with them leadership. That's why I want the debate. You understand? Now, Gambia, we have to understand that we have cultures and traditions. If you come there, you are all on your high horse, you want to be so bumptious, and then for instance, the clear example is Barrow, maybe an Nkande. I don't know. For instance, they are both high school graduate, from what we know, what is apparent, right? President Barrow and then Honorable Kande, or more high school graduate. Let's say debate is in English. Instead of talking policies, if you are doing that, you would get your 15 seconds, but you are actually getting,
that's why I cannot disagree with that.
Because even me, someone like me, like for me, if someone wanted to ridicule, that is just beneath you. You are telling me, you are reasonable, you are not sophisticated enough. People ridicule. That's a different thing. But in a professional setting, you debate the more we are trying to sell ideas. But of course, if you are leading the country in international world, in conferences, and then we intentionally choose to make something our language, any one member Gambia represent, we cannot fall short to second. We expect you to do right and then do well, because until language choose call a medium. Ni Chinese soul nata UN, they speak in their language, and no one expect them to fall short in speaking the language they choose. India, the same thing. If we choose to remain with English, I cannot be kind to you in that. It's just like a lawyer, you write because you are paid to talk and then write. And if you write horrible like Gambia, anytime you write, part of your reputation goes away. So you have to own that. So we have to separate the two and then understand it in our own culture and in context. In Gambia, we don't expect you to ridicule anyone. And I wouldn't agree with that.
I was just saying, you might think what Dabakh said. I disagree a little bit, because if you go out there on this debate, let's say on the 28th, it's time for you to sell your party. Election is just at the corner, and you think that you're going to be standing there ridiculing somebody. You might lose. You might lose to that.
Yes.
You might lose to that, because Bintamang English moy, you're gonna come and ridicule me. You will get your fame, but Gambian, they are very smart. They will twist this thing around. So
exactly,
I think they can debate. I think they can debate, and I think that President Barrow, when he came in,
I'm not referring to the candidates. I'm referring to some of their supporters.
Oh.
I think the candidates, some of them I have not personal dealings with them, but I think as human beings, they are very competent and they have high sense of responsibility, and they know what they're doing based on their experience and age. I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, even the citizens that are requesting for debate on policies, they don't vote on policies. They vote based on things where that is way totally different. I think us, the voters, we need to correct ourselves first before we request for some things like this. Because if not, we're just going to do it for doing it safe. And that's it. It will not add any value to what we are doing. Because to tell you the truth, from now to elections, majority of people who are going to vote have already made up their mind to the candidate they are going to vote for. And I can tell you very few Gambians will interrogate political party manifestos. Even some people who are diehard supporters of parties, and even their executive members, they speak on platforms on behalf of parties. They don't even understand their political party manifestos or their programs.
Dabakh, let's say this is just a change, a political change left walla doro. Let's say it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be new. Let's say let them give it a try, because bidding Halifa Sallah and Dr. Cisse, I think keba bonde nang inate debate ke. We had a great feeling. I attended funding ke lalako. Look, if you want to do this, you have to be prepared. Dr. Cisse lose, or Honorable Halifa Sallah did lose, or this. It's not about them losing. It's about us Gambians winning to change the diaphragm. You know.
Totally
agree. Yes. So we just want to change that. Argument, you know. I think that President Barrow, when he came with Anata, he said, I don't know how to do this. And nobody went to no school for president, university to learn presidency. He said, I don't know how to do this. But still, Abigele, and he's a game changer. So Nas song, I game more change funding Kedia to another level. I have to go, hey, I'm doing this. I may not be perfect at it, but we can do it another level. 2026. Nite Sarjo Kabina President Yaninola, as a long debate is waiting for him.
Yeah, I believe they will all of them will participate. I think it's one thing, the reason why it's good, because I think also with the high stake of this election, you know, them debating and exchanging pleasantries on that stage, and after the debate, probably all the candidates can take a pledge to make sure they exercise their rights during the period peacefully, in a manner in which their supporters will look up to them and know, okay, my candidate is very peaceful and is very respectful. And also, they can also use the platform to advise some of their supporters to limit the aggressiveness and not very unpleasant.
Look, even they only debate on peace. We can just tell them debate on peace, how we can maintain peace, something.
Absolutely.
Just so, yes. Sarjo, wala mantala argument about it. Then we'll let you guys go.
No, I agree. Okay, I believe in debate. I think it's about time. Yeah, there are only a few people, like, for instance, sometimes I would see in budget, not enough. And then you ask yourself, why budget is bloated? Individual, you know, like folks that I know, you understand, like colleagues that I know from college. Yeah, some of them are in the National Assembly. I asked them, and it's saying we inherited a lot of things from the colonial time. Can it be the same practices continue? Why? Because you look at our public life, average Gambians don't know. In debate level, you do nothing. And for instance, we are paying a president in Gambian standard a modest salary. Yeah, understand. We give all these other incentive. Bela budget beta family. What I, for instance, this is what I say. Even all the other candidates, like for instance, in as much as every candidate I would have, you know, you interrogate them on their past. For instance, Honorable Sallah, he has the opportunity every day. Like, okay, you were in National Assembly, and then Jambela time was the most difficult time. We don't know, you couldn't do anything. But what did you do as a, for instance, as a National Assembly member to try and change some of the things? Jaye, they vote you on those things. What legislation do you bring? This is the attempt to make. You understand? If we want to take seriously, Vice President Dabakh, you have this portfolio as a vice president. What did you do? What policies did you push forward? As an agenda. You understand? Because vice presidents need a portfolio. So us what one single policy that you push during a time. Or foreign affairs. This is where you ask them about issues. Yeah. We cannot come and then complain, but we are not changing. But debate bring this idea. Can you imagine Banco in a friends like, okay, let's say in president of the tax bill, we are giving everything. We feed you anytime we're not like in the US, for instance, when there is a state function, state pays for that. But in the it comes out of your pocket. They bill you as a restaurant. Then you start to think twice that physical responsibility. Yeah, so president comes with a lot of privilege and perk even after the office, but it doesn't mean I animal farm system. This is where I have issues in Gambia. These are some of the things, but debate could bring it. Why, as a president, with champion I'm going to cut this waste. This is where it starts. Going forward, but you will only feed me on state function, but nga salary so don't pana benna dimba balundila on non-official function. But that's how sana la kalkasa nyame nga tamar so ngalam pol ka dimi nyame nga konton provide na dimba nga simon ke bari mandala tax joga. Those are the things. In Banco, once people start talking about this issue in debate, more balance what is happening, and people would start asking, President Kosodole, why not us? Debate bring these issues out. But many Gambian, just like immigration, hot topic in Gambia, Nana is a sensitive area. We don't want to talk about it because more camera coming, maybe you are tribal or racist. Immigrant Jamabe Gambia, immigration mo issue the Gambia. Gambia immigration America immigration. You could literally have legal status there without doing much. But hani bi molet wur la ñokang ko immigration be carbon la because ima long. It a law firm jela may na I advertisement ke or tele or social media with all this platform ka for immigrant le ko. Loi be jena may protect. This is how you get fenko alien card. This is how you become permanent resident in Gambia. Ñenta ñi nga mo la jola manjara police oli batandi. We are not talking about it. Immigrant people may mo buka fenke. These are the issues. So wala ñanta ka discuss molia ka ñing ku jama be bola la ñi rhetoric ñol be
sama nga political party nani bele soto. So we will ask them about this debate. Foi be la candidate or somebody on the forward because ngalon mbe PDI soto la mbe nte UDP ning fenkala soto la drong. I think I have GDC tomorrow. I have NUP tomorrow. PDOIS and NPP. So we will see. Nibe kachala kualale and Allah barakat. Thank you all very much. Because this Saturday thing, I can Sarjo all book a time sort of Allah barakat. You can say bye to the viewers. You can say bye to the viewers.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all very much. Kacha, I mean, the discussion is good. You can share our information, please. It's all about Gambia. It's all about respect. Our Facebook, you can follow it. Subscribe us on YouTube. We have the brothers here, Sarjo, Barrow. We have Dabakh Malick and Jaye Jallow. Until next Sunday, do not miss our show tomorrow. It's all about politics. The political parties will be here. Thank you all very much. Allah Baraka. I wasn't expecting us to go this long, but I'm grateful we still have y'all. Yes, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. We will have them back very soon. We will have them back. We'll be here every Saturday until the election night. Thank you. Allah baraka, Allah baraka. Thank you. Mother Ann, you used to be the class prefect. We missed you. We missed you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you. Lamin Allah baraka. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. We'll be here tomorrow, as usual. Our regular show. We'll have the 4 political parties, the qualified ones. Yes, for the presidency. To run for the presidency. Yes. Dabo, thank you so much, Abdullah, for your contribution. Gasama, Amadou, thank you all. Allah barak. Allah barak. Thank you all. You can follow and subscribe us down. Right there. Allah barak. Thank you. Thank you, Sadauda. Hey, Sad. Jato Ela. Nemanin kafar kelai. President Jawara. I'm bondi tubabo lugulu. Alhamdulillah, I'm bondi nanje at peace. Thank you. Abaraka.